come to order. This is a meeting of, call the roll.
Alatorre, Burnson, Chick, Fury, Calandra, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miskowski, Riley Thomas, Orange, Wax, Walters, Ferraro. There's 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, this is a meeting of the City Council for the City of Los Angeles on the 15th day of June, 1999. There are 15 council districts in the city. The regular meeting days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently being viewed by cable subscribers throughout the Los Angeles area on Channel 35, and we're also being monitored by council phones. So the first order of business,
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Alatorre moves, Mr. Burnson seconds. There's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item,
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
if there's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item,
Item number 18 on the regular agenda, request to continue that matter until June 22nd.
if there's no objections, that will be the order.
Item number 6 on the regular agenda is a commission appointment.
This is a reappointment. Is there any objections to taking this item up? Item number 6.
Mr. President, I would move the reappointment of Mr. Silverman.
He called, he was ill, and he couldn't come in today.
Exactly. And we have a time problem with it, so that's why I'd like to move the appointment.
All right, if there's no objections, prepare the roll.
Aye, yeah, ask for an aye vote.
Okay, go ahead, you have the floor.
Mr. President, in committee, I voted no on this appointment, and I will vote no again today.
Okay,
All right, I'd ask for an aye vote on Mr. Silverman's reappointment.
all right, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
Mr.
10
President,
ayes, 1 no.
That is approved.
a introduction, please.
Well, let's finish this, will you, Mr. Burnson? Item number 6 has been approved, and we'll send that forthwith. Mr. Burnson, you have an introduction? What? You have an introduction? Okay, now,
Yes, Mr. President, members of the council, we're happy to have with us today a group of third graders from Balboa Gifted Magnet School. They're here with their teacher, Mrs. Priscilla Mui, and their coordinator, Susie Rader. Would they please stand and be recognized? Balboa. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy your visit to City Hall.
while we are introducing people, let's introduce the newly elected councilman from the 7th District, Alex Padilla, who is here today. Alex, we want to welcome you.
He's going to join Mr. Ferraro in the Tall Persons Caucus.
That's right.
Yeah, you can join too, Laura.
On elevator shoes.
Okay, the next item.
Item number 27, a request by Councilmember Hernandez to withdraw and send to the IGR committee.
Is there any objections to that? Seeing none, that will be the order. Next item.
Item number 1 on the regular agenda is a item notice for public hearing.
Is there anybody in the chamber who wants to be heard on item number 1? It's a lighting district in the 11th, well, the Hazeltine Avenue and Sherman Way, a lighting district. Anybody want to be heard? Have no cards, so the public hearing is closed. Is there any discussion on this? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. The ordinance, let's keep the ordinance on the desk, because I think we are expecting 12. In fact, we have 12 now, don't we?
You now.
Yeah. Yeah, so prepare the roll on the order. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 2 on the agenda is an ordinance regarding Little Tokyo BID.
We'll call that special. We have a lot of cards on that. David, how are you?
Item number 3 on the regular agenda is also an item for a public hearing.
Anybody in the chamber who wants to be heard on item number 3? And we do have somebody we'll call on.
Yeah, we want to call that special, Mr. President, also for some amendments.
One card. Alfred Mann.
And yet, I also have some amendments that will be introduced with item 3.
So you want to call it special?
Special.
Next item.
Item number 4 on the regular agenda is also an item for public hearing.
Anybody in the chamber wants to be heard on item number 4? Do not have cards. Public hearing is closed. Any discussion on number 4? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 5 on the regular agenda requires a motion to grant or deny the application. This item is in Council District 10.
Okay, is there anybody in the chamber who wants to be heard on item number 5? Mrs. Walters, did you want to be heard? Yes. Okay. Let's close the public hearing first. There's nobody wants to be heard, so the public hearing's closed. Mrs. Walters?
I just want to protest the necessity of another liquor license. I think we've got enough in that area, and I don't think we need another one.
Okay. Mr. Holden? A motion is required. Mr. Holden moves to grant. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 eyes, 1 no.
That is approved. Next item.
Items number 7 through 14 are items for which public hearings have been held. There's a request from Councilmember Chick to call numbers 7 and 8 special.
We'll call those special. 9 through
9 special, Mr. President.
9 is called special. 10, we need it's without a recommendation, we need a motion on that one. 10 is called special. 11, 12, 13, 14, any specials there? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Those are approved. Next item.
Items number 15 through 33.
Item 15 through 33, we have cards on 27. Oh, that has been referred to committee. We have cards on 30, 34, and 35. We'll call those special.
Mr. President, item 18,
Wait a minute.
Item number 18 was continued until
for
June
1 week.
22nd.
Okay, good.
Okay, anybody want to be heard on any of the other items? Seeing none, the public hearing's closed on all those except I called already. Any special by council members?
Mr. President, item number 28 should be referred to committee, and so it goes to the Municipal Services Committee as well, but ITGNS, 28.
You want to refer 28 to committee? Correct. Okay, if there's no objections, that will be the order. We have...
Mr. President,
Mr.
on item 28, of course, we have a library just adjacent to this property, for item 28, vacant lot. It's the Washington Urban Library, which is expected to be open sometime in the next 3 months or so. And we have some concern about the use of the vacant lot, and for the safety of the children, we're making an effort to acquire it, if at all possible, for the purpose so it can be used for the interest of the library and the community in that area. Could even be a park-like area, parking, whatever, but it would be a necessary if at all possible. So could you, if it goes to committee, could you have it back to us in maybe 3 weeks? Who's the chair of that committee?
Mr. Riley Thomas.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, would you be interested in having it back within 3 weeks or so?
Mr. President, per usual, this is an item that should be reviewed by the CAO, and it would be processed accordingly, and I don't think an unusual amount of time should be required, but it shouldn't be done by Rule 16.
So we can get a report from the,
Why don't you move that we send it to committee, but better be returned within a month?
oh, that'd be
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, if there's no objections, that will be the order on that. Item 19 and 20, we have We need a motion to receive and file. Is there any objections to that? 19 and 20. Mr. Alatorre moves. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote on 19 and 20.
12 eyes.
Those are approved. All right, we have, help me now, item 15, 16, 17,
21, 22,
23,
23, 24, request to go forthwith.
24, 25,
25,
26, 29,
30, I believe you have a card.
31, 32, and 33. Prepare the roll on those. Tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
Those are approved. Forthwith on 24. Next item.
Item number 34 on the supplemental page.
There has been a hearing on that already. Any discussion on item 34? 34 is called special. 35 is called special. Where? No one wants to be heard on those, on 36, and it's called special by Mr. Burnson. Okay, the next item.
Item number 2 called special.
Item number 2, we have a lot of cards on this.
Mr. President, I would move 10-minute public hearing on each side.
All right, is there any objection to the 10-minute public hearing on each side? Seeing none, that was the order. Mrs. Wallers, who do you want those, against the proposal or for?
It doesn't matter.
All right, we'll do the ones that Robert Nakamura, Francis Hashimoto. If you want to be heard now, come up to the microphone, and we'll.
Thank you,
Thank you. And then we'll, Francis Hashimoto, would you get behind? You'd be second. Go ahead.
Your Honor. I mean, Mr. Ferraro. Thank you. I'm here to object to the current bid proposal. I want it noted that I'm objecting not as an officer or representative of any.
Pull that microphone up closer to your mouth.
Thank you. I'm objecting not as an officer or representative of any organization, but as one of the individuals in the area to be affected by the bid proposal.
Pull that microphone up closer to you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think,
Yeah.
Mr. Ferraro. Maybe you'll become a judge afterwards, right?
No, thank you.
I'm objecting to the passage, first, I'm objecting to the passage of the bid proposal on the basis that inadequate notice was given to the persons to be affected by this proposal. As I had indicated to the councilwoman's office on Friday afternoon, I walked the precinct, and all the people whom I spoke with were unaware of the bid proposal, much less of the fact that a 43% assessment was to be computed against their business license fee. In discussing it, based on my poll, I doubt very much that 51% of the people in the affected area were contacted, much less that they approve of this bid proposal. Much has been made of organizational support for the Japanese American community for this proposal. It should be noted that the area to be affected far outreaches the traditional boundaries of Little Tokyo. It should also be noted that the organizations polled are hardly representative of the constituency to be affected by this proposal. Finally, it should be noted that the organizations are fictitious entities. Like communities, aside from the people who make them up, they have no life. They do not run the businesses, pay the taxes, or vote. At best, organizations can be said to represent only a part of the community affected. Second, I'm here to object to the particulars of the bid proposal itself. It is my understanding that the proposal incorporates a tax or assessment levied on the basis of business license fees at a rate of 43%. It is my understanding that Los Angeles business license fee is a gross...
I want to remind you, there was 10 minutes for
Yes.
the whole group, not
Yes.
just you.
Yes. I'll slip through this. Basically, we're opposing because we believe the bid proposal is not, improper notice was given on this matter, and that is poorly thought out. Some of the people in the district pay as much as $12,000 as a license fee. If you levy a 43% assessment on that, that's almost a $17,000 license fee. And people may not be aware of the fact that there's a bid proposal out at this point, or that they're going to be surcharged, but they certainly will find out when they get their taxes.
All right, thank you. Francis Hashimoto and then Wilson Liu.
Distinguished members of the City Council, my name is Francis, and my family has been doing business in Little Tokyo since 1910. I'm here today representing the Little Tokyo Business Association. We are requesting that, initially, that the City Council postpone the voting on this matter. In order to ensure that our bid has the greatest potential of success and continuity, need to resolve certain issues and concerns. Most of us in the community approve the concept of a BID. However, the consensus was to start with a 25% assessment just for security and to increase the program. The proposal before you is for 43% assessment. And anyone in business knows that while safety is an important issue, marketing, promotions, all those things are important also. Just recently, we became aware that the businesses classified as professionals pay a much higher rate for their business licenses. We would like to see a modification in the formula used for them, if it's possible. Also, we would like to see more representation from the different segments of our community to oversee the program. Therefore, we would like to increase the number of voluntary members to the advisory board. We ask the City Council to give us the time to address these issues. I have just heard that it's 1 week. If time is the issue here and we have to vote on this matter at this time, then I'm authorized by the majority of the Little Tokyo Business Association
All right.
to ask the City Council to vote
Thank
it
you,
down.
Francis. Wilson Liu and then Albert Tyra.
Good morning. My name is Wilson Liu, and I represent 2 properties in Little Tokyo, which is made up of 15 business owners. We also would like the council to postpone their vote as far as approving the BID. However, if we should not prevail in the postponement, I have 8 of the businesses that have given me authority to vote, to urge the City Council members to vote no on the disapproval of the bid.
Thank you. Albert Tyra and then Murat Kashiwala, some bad writing.
Mr. President and honorable council members, my name is Al Tyra, and I'm here to represent First Street South Plaza and Mangrove Estates. I oppose the boundaries of bid, the eastern boundaries. I think it should be ended at Alameda Street. They have extended Little Tokyo boundaries all the way up to Vignes. Mangrove Estates, which is 9.5 acres, of which 8 acres is bare land, and 2 acres is approximately parking lots. First Street South Plaza represents 7.5 acres, which is all various parking lots. It took us 12.5 years to get our environmental impact report, our conditional use permits through the City Council, and it was approved last year. Here you propose to attach a 43% tax on businesses. We have proposed to bring in 2 hotels, office buildings, a headquarters company here. With that kind of tax structure, we can't attract businesses. All we're going to do is deter them, and they'll go elsewhere where other cities are allowing attractive packages to lower taxes, not to increase taxes. Please bear with me that we represent, from east of Alameda, the 2 companies, Mangrove Estates and First Street South Plaza, represent over 85% of the total land area. Thank you.
Are you trying to say Mirei Kagawa? Okay, I'll be real quick and short. I am here to represent 5 dental practices, so it's part of the professional segment. And unlike dental offices, medical offices. Dental offices are looking at about 70 to 80% overhead. This 40% increase is going to be tough on us, and I also want to add that we like the idea of having a BID. It's just that we were surprised and baffled that we were going to get hit with this 43% tax increase with such a short notice, and I believe it was in the makings for 4 years, and we didn't know a thing about it. So I would like to know how we can better resolve this, because we would like to have a BID in the area, but this 43% tax hike is going to be a struggle. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Matsumoto.
My name is Dr. Takeshi Matsumoto, and I have a practice in medicine in Little Tokyo since 1990. And gratefully, I've been successful in my practice, and I pay a large city tax as it is. When I was in Monterey Park not long ago, I was paying $60 a year for my business tax. Now I pay thousands of dollars in the city of Los Angeles. A 43% increase would mean another few $1,000s out of my pocket. I was planning to expand my office to include a colleague in my office, but this 43% has changed my mind, and I think I'm going to have a second office elsewhere so I can cut my taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now those in favor of Brian Quito, then Satatori Umeda.
Good afternoon. Good morning. My name is Brian Quito. I am a business owner in Little Tokyo. We own the oldest business in Little Tokyo. It started in 1903. Be 100 years in 3 more years. I'm here representing the BID committee, which has been studying this BID for close to 5 years. Obviously, you can know all the other BIDs that have gone into place. We were probably the first ones to start working on this. Sadly enough, we're probably the last ones to bring it to the City Council. On behalf of the board, I want to convey that we are in favor of pushing forward on this BID. In Little Tokyo, we do have kind of a BID system in a way, but it's all on voluntary basis. Everything that's set up, like for our Public Safety Association, our business associations, all volunteers. Memberships and things like this. It's a long time that Little Tokyo had something that we worked toward where everybody had to pay their share, a fair share of security and cleanup in Little Tokyo. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Satoru Ueda.
Yes, my name is Satoru Ueda, and I'm president of the Little Tokyo Public Safety Association, and also have had a family business in the Little Tokyo area for over 50 years. Over the past, let's say 7 years, I've seen the condition of Little Tokyo decline significantly. That was about 7 years ago, and it took the Little Tokyo Public Safety Association 7 years to bring it to the status that it is now. It's been in the last 2 years that the Public Safety Association has had a shortfall in the contribution to the association, and we're looking forward to having the BID implemented in Little Tokyo so we can sustain our current projects, which include the Koban Visitor Center, our volunteer program, and also paying a private security company to secure the Little Tokyo area. With the BID in place, we'll be able to increase the private security from 1 guard for 24 hours to, we'll be able to expand it to 3 guards for 24 hours, making the safety in Little Tokyo much better. So I do like to see the BID approved.
Sugino.
Hello, my name is Lisa Sugino. I'm here representing LTCDAC and also Bill Watanabe, my executive director, who couldn't be here today due to a funeral. He is a member of the BID committee, and we've been working on this, having taken it over from David Hune for about 4 or 5 years now, and the BID committee is open to whomever wanted to be on it. It has been in the newspaper. As far as I know, notices were sent out. We also, as a nonprofit, own 3 buildings and run the Union Center Cafe of Business. I know we got all the notices for all of those. We did have a meeting with the physicians when it was brought here. No one objected, but then we later heard from them once they got some notices. And at that point, the BID committee listened to them and then voted that they should continue with the 43% across the board assessment, because that's how it had been presented to the community, and they were afraid that other groups would come forward once, if the doctors got a discount, everyone will want a discount. And so we were hoping that they would, go along for this first year, and that when this came back for review next year, that some work would have been done to get more agreement from everyone, and that we could all work together at that point. We haven't been able to know from the city clerk how much everyone is paying, so we weren't able to tell everyone nor know the exact calculation until today and yesterday. So we've learned that there is going to be a discount, that it's 43% of the post-empowerment zone credit, which is a $500 credit, so it will make it about $250 lower for some of the businesses who are paying that higher rate. Thank you.
Okay, all the cards we have, so the public hearing is closed. I want to point out that those in the opposition that wanted this continued, this was continued from May 25th, so Mr. Mike Carey, City Clerk, you want to give us a report on this, and we'll call on Mrs. Walters.
We have a 15% protest, $33,773 out of the total to be assessed of $221,895. We have clarified with the group that the empowerment zone business tax credit will be applied first before the assessment amount is to be determined. That up to $500 can be deducted from your business tax. This is an assessment formula that goes against the business tax, similar to Miracle on Broadway and Westwood.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Mrs. Walters?
Mr. Carey, is there a an alternative type assessment than the one that has been chosen that could be utilized here on this BID?
Other assessment districts have generally used a flat rate basis depending on the type of business you were in. They've ranged from $100 annually up to $300. If you were retail, they'd charge the retail a little more, especially if they were going to have a marketing program. This primarily is cleanup and security, as I understand their program. But there's not an infinite variety of formulas, but there are other formulas that could be used. The protest, I think, that you're seeing is coming from different segments that the doctors and the dentists who believe they're not going to benefit significantly from the increased security. Their business tax rate is higher. It recognizes the profit margins, the $591 per thousand. But again, this is 43% applied against your business tax payment minus after you've taken the business tax credit within the zone. So businesses will be paying a variety of amounts based on the business tax that they pay to the City of Los Angeles.
Is there such a thing as mixing the two types of assessments?
Yes, you could. It really is up to the business community and the council on the formula that you'd like to adopt. This is just
so they can either go to a flat rate, or they can have a mixture of a flat rate and an assessment against the business tax.
It could create different zones. We've had different zones. We've had, I believe, even in some high-rise where the rate decreases significantly the higher up you are in a building based on the
All right.
cleaning.
Is there a time limit here? Does a vote need to be taken today?
Under state law, after the proposal comes forward, we can continue it up to 30 days. Now, let me be blunt. I mean, the fact if we went past 30 days, I'm not sure is going to be harmful to anybody. I think this has been continued 3 weeks now, Mike. And probably, at least at this point, we ought to close the protest hearing and potentially have a second reading next week.
Okay.
And if nothing can be done, then I think the council has to make a decision on whether you want to move forward with this or restart the game with a different formula, which is possible. I don't think we have to restart the entire process, but if the business community got together, and I'm not sure they're going to, we could create a new process that would involve notice and a new formula. But maybe a week will allow some people to look at some of the numbers and make some decisions. The council also has the ability to come in and modify the assessment rates. Hopefully, we could get some agreement out of the business community to do that.
All right. Well, I'm going to move your suggestion that we continue this 1 week, and hopefully you can supply the groups, the two groups, with these alternatives, because it seems to me that they're laboring, at least some are laboring under the impression that they only had one choice, one way to go, and that a vote was taken on that. So we will ask, Mr. President, if this could be continued one additional week until next Tuesday, during which time perhaps both sides could get together and you could provide additional information, your office could provide.
We'll sit down with them and see where they want to head.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, first of all, we'll motion to close the public hearing.
Right.
There's
So
no objection to that, and then we have a motion to continue 1 week.
Right.
If there's no objection, that will be the order.
Okay.
Okay, the next item?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kieran.
Item number 3, called special by Councilmember Hernandez.
Mr. Hernandez, we have a AM man wants to be heard on this.
Okay.
Come on, Alex, speak up, we don't have all day.
I'm Alec Mann. I'm chair of the Friends of Hazard Park and the Hazard Park Wetlands. I asked the officer to give each one of the council members a cover sheet, which I gave to Mr. Ferraro earlier with a set of supporting documents. This draft environmental impact report and the FEIR is not certifiable under the city CEQA guidelines for the reasons that I outlined in the cover letter, that comments were submitted to the planning department, were received by the planning department, and then omitted from the final EIR. And CEQA guidelines for the city are very clear that when this happens, the integrity of the draft EIR is such, and the final EIR is such, that it doesn't pass muster under CEQA. Now, moving on, the concerns that we have are the following. First of all, the plan revision that is before you today for the northeast area acknowledges being unable to mitigate the severe parkland deficit in the northeast area. And the parkland deficit in the area is 1,700 acres. No attempt was made or recommendations were made in this planning document that you have before you today to relieve this terrible shortage of parkland. The proposal is very timid and very weak in that regard. The local residential community, which is adjacent to Hazard Park, is surrounded by land that belongs to the University of Southern California, and the approval of the, that's in this plan you have before you today to change the zoning of the USC lands which surround Playground Street and are adjacent to Hazard Park will create enormous problems in that small residential enclave as the pressures from commercial developments will ultimately lead the major property owner, USC, to attempt to close Playground Street and even use eminent domain as USC has in the past when it gets approval from the City Council to wipe out the remaining community that's adjacent to Hazard Park for purposes of carrying out USC's commercial development objectives. This would be an inevitable consequence of what you have before you today in the upgrading of the zoning. But
All right, thank you, Alex.
I just have two more paragraphs.
Okay, go ahead.
The concern here is that the institutional land belonging to the University of Southern California is land that was represented, interests that were represented by the chairman of the CPAC, John Hisarick, who's an officer, an employee of USC, and there's a glaring conflict of interest here, which may have led to the very generous granting of the change from open space and lower densities to commercial that was supported and endorsed by the Planning Commission. And I think this is one of the most serious defects in the way the whole thing has moved forward. There used to be 500 homes around that park, and USC has expanded from time to time, using eminent domain on a number of occasions, has successfully wiped out all of the residential community around the park except for the small enclave, which is now left, and that will occur if this C2 zoning is not changed. It will simply destroy that area, that small enclave.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, Dr. James Campbell, a biologist, submitted comments to the draft EIR. He's an expert in biology and evaluated the wetlands in Hazard Park, and it was totally, his comments on the biology and the botany of the area was totally ignored in the draft EIR, and for that reason, it should not be certified today. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Hernandez.
Good. I just wanted Mr. John Hisarick, who's the president of Northeast CPAC, to give a few comments. This is in regards to the community's participation regarding this plan.
Could you pull the microphone up and give us your name, please?
My name is John Hisarick, and as Mr. Hernandez points out, for the last 9.5 years, I've had the pleasure of chairing the Northeast Los Angeles CPAC, and it is correct, as Mr. Mann points out, that I am an employee of USC, and that's been apparent from the outset. USC, to the best of my knowledge, is knowing plans and has not exercised eminent domain in the area. We are simply participants in the community plan and hope to, along with a number of us, improve the entire area. Mr. Mann has been an active participant in our discussions. We welcome his continued input and his concern for trees and for the environment in the area, the larger issues of open space. But fundamentally, we've held hundreds of meetings over the 9 years, addressed virtually all of the issues that are before us in this. The issue of additional open space is one that we would certainly like to address. We recognize Debs Park. We certainly encourage that, Hazard Park, Lincoln Park, and a number of other in the area. I think the area is in need of additional park space, and we would support that if we could possibly find it. I would be available for questions. I know staff from planning is here if you have additional issues. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the council, again, as Mr. Hisarick stated, this has been a 9.5-year process where the community's been definitely involved. In fact, you, Council President, initially were one of the appointees to the CPAC, appointed some people to the CPAC because that was part of the reapportionment in 1992, and Council District 4 was part of this area. At the same time, Council District 13 and Council District 14, as well as the 1st, have continued to work with the community and with the planning department in putting this plan together. We have 3 amendments that basically are clarifying some issues. They've been passed through the planning department. They approve of them. I'm just asking for a unanimous vote, and I want to congratulate the community and thank them for all the time that they've put in regard to this plan, as well as the planning department.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, I too would like to comment on the plan. This has been quite an extraordinary experience. We've only been involved in it for a mere 6 years. I'm particularly happy with the notion of community design overlay districts, which are represented in motion 3A, because I think that what they will do is provide opportunities for various parts of the same plan to have differences and yet some involvement and control. I also would urge that the Northeast CPAC might consider, even though it's been only a mere 10 years, remaining involved as an oversight committee as this goes into effect, as I think that all of the work that you've done, it's important to make sure that there's some continuity with the staff of the planning department to make sure that this gets fully implemented. I would like to ask, though, because there has been a question about the EIR and the DEIR not being certified because questions were not answered. I'd like to at least have staff address that before we vote. But otherwise, I would urge a unanimous vote as well, because this has been an extraordinary process, and I think that the amount of participation may be unduplicable by any group now or in the future because of the number of meetings and the number of times this has been out to various groups and individuals within the community. So the only question I have is, would you comment on the complaint that comments were not included in and answered from a biologist? I believe that was the complaint.
Thank you, Councilmember Goldberg. President Ferraro, members of the council, Terry Speth from the City Planning Department, project manager for the Northeast Community Plan Revision for the last 3 years. Prior to this plan going to the City Planning Commission, Mr. Mann contacted me by telephone to indicate to me that he had reviewed the final EIR and could not find any reflection of his comments that he had mailed in 1995 to the EIR staff. And unfortunately, the EIR staff was not in possession of these documents, and Mr. Mann has not been able to provide us with a copy. This was prior to the Planning Commission action. We still have not seen that. So in the absence of a document, we cannot comment.
Else want to be heard on this? Mr. Hernandez, we have your motion, a 3A.
Yeah, it's 3A, B, and C. They're all basically amending motions. And I'm just urging approval on all of them.
Okay. Prepare the roll on 3A, B, and C. Mrs. Walters?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. There's an item today in Budget and Finance that would add a planner to this, and I'm a little confused between the two. And I'm wondering if the planning department, are you representing the planning department?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
What about this additional position? Do you feel that the planning department needs it or does not?
We've laid out a very ambitious implementation schedule for the next several years for the planning department. We're presenting to you today 1,300 land zone changes and plan amendments, which are going to require my existing staff just to process. And so to do the other implementation efforts, which would include doing a master plan for the Taylor Yard, instituting community design overlays, and the like, we are definitely going to need another staff person. Those are going to be very staff-intensive efforts.
Okay. I don't see a CAO report on this, or the one for this afternoon.
On? Okay, thank you. Ms. Walters, the community plan has been a process that has been going on for 9.5 years.
Right.
And now the plan has been implemented with the resolution that's before Budget and Finance. I mean, I don't want to commit.
Will assist to implement
It
it.
will assist to implement it.
Right.
And they usually go hand in hand. I'm trying to say that because to have a plan that can't be implemented makes no sense. And so we know that the planning department in their budgetary request, because this was not before them at the time, does not have the resources set aside at this time, which is why you have that separate request going before you in Budget and Finance. And I just hope that you would be supporting it there because, again, to me, it's important we adopt the plan. It gives the community tools to make sure that the kinds of businesses that are going into those neighborhoods respect the overall nature of the community. And we need planners to basically implement the changes that the plan requires.
Okay, but I still, I don't have a CAO report.
Right, and you never get a CAO report on planning zone issues. If you remember, like,
I don't have a CAO report on the budget item.
okay, well, that's something that I think you might address on the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. It has, basically, we're just trying to do what we've seen duplicated in other parts of the city. When community plans are passed, then comes budgetary requests for the people to implement those plans.
Well, the situation was confusing because the information that came to me was that Planning Department indicated they did not need
Right.
this additional person.
And Ms.
And then
Walters-
we have this, I understand you're wanting to
Ms. Walters, what
implement.
I'd like to help you, what I want you to understand is that for whatever reason, the Planning Department has treated our communities very different in terms of the resources it's allocated to implement the plans.
That's true.
And we find ourselves dealing with nuisance abatements, we're finding ourselves dealing with a lot of issues because we didn't have the proper planning in place at the beginning.
And because of the neglect.
And I
through the
have a
years.
problem with the planning department's leadership because of their lack of assistance to our communities.
Yeah.
And it's not, and sitting on Plum, I see the difference in the debates that go on in our communities. And so that's why I'm asking that they apply the same kinds of resources to us that they would do to the Mulholland Plan, that they would do to other areas, and that's what I'm fighting for.
Okay.
Thank
And the
you.
differences are stark when
Right.
it comes to the Planning Department.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have 3A, B, and C. Prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
That is approved. Now we have 3 as amended. Prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
That is approved. Next item,
Item number 7, called special by Councilmember Chick.
Mrs. Chick. Mrs. Chick, we have a lot of cards. It could be of an hour public hearing on 7 and 8, but it's not a higher hearing item. I think they already spoke on some of these things.
Well, I had called this special simply to raise the issue that in Public Safety Committee several times, and also as part of the ad hoc budget recommendations, we've been looking at the need for enforcement of the smoking ban ordinance that the city passed, which I realize is a different category of enforcement, and education is what's being discussed here. But I did want to raise the issue that to date, we have not accessed funding from the county to pay for the education piece of that smoking ban. The fire department and the CAO were instructed by our ad hoc budget committee to go back to the county with, I think, at least a second request for that funding. And I wanted to raise the issue because it was a very small sum, actually, but very necessary to make our enforcement effective, and thought that perhaps there was a way to include that education and even a bit of the enforcement here today as part of the funding that's being allocated. I had asked for someone from the fire department and I don't see staff here. So perhaps as the discussion goes on, I'll make sure that someone comes down to address my concerns and let us know where we are in the funding of that very important ordinance to prohibit smoking in restaurants, bars, and taverns per the city's ordinance. Thank you.
Mr. Fuhr?
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 7, we will address item 8 differently from item 7. Item 7 is the narrower question of how to use the Mangini money for what in fact is an enforcement program. It is widely supported by the health community, by the city attorney's office, by the fire department and others, because we all recognize that enforcement on tobacco-related issues really requires efforts in 3 different areas. 1, preventing people from illegally selling to minors. Next, enforcing the city's ban on, in many neighborhoods in the areas where kids are most likely to be, on billboards and other on-site signs relating to alcohol and tobacco. And third, enforcing the smoking ban in bars and taverns. Each of those is an integral part of the enforcement package that is before us in 7 and will be continued as we move forward in item 8, both this year and beyond. I think there's no controversy around item 7, and I would urge that we endorse it.
Mrs. Walters?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like just a little clarification here. I have certainly been in support of 7 and 8, but I'd like to know, you referenced the enforcing against illegal tobacco sales. Will this become part of a database that can be accessed for revocation issues against folks who are engaging in illegal tobacco sales?
Ms. Walters, the proposal originally emanated from the city attorney's office. I believe the answer to your question is yes, because it's publicly accessible data which would actually rest in the city attorney's office, which would be necessary to be used in that revocation process as well. If that's wrong, a member of the city attorney's staff should be, I'm saying yes, that's correct. It would be available for precisely that purpose, Ms. Walters.
Okay, very good. What about the tracking system for these nuisance cases? Is that part of this funding?
No. What is part of this funding would, and I want to be clear about your question, Ms. Walters, this focuses on those sites where there is illegal sale to minors of tobacco products.
Right.
For broader purposes, there is no
Where
additional
there's
funding.
probably going with that is illegal sales of alcohol and other type nuisance factors.
And certainly the information gathered pursuant to this would be useful in that revocation process, but there's not a separate pool of funds that's included within this precisely for nuisance revocation generally. That would have to be tied together with our other nuisance revocation processes, but this would be integral to revocations at those sites. Without this, it'd be hard to do so on the basis of illegal sale.
Right, but the database will be supported with funds from these monies.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, we have 7 and 8 before us.
Just 7.
7, okay, prepare the roll on 7. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Now we have 8.
For a 10-minute hearing on 8.
10-minute hearing. You want to pick out the 10 minutes? We have people with general comments for the proposal. And some people that don't even tell us what they're going to say, or rather, if they're about 25. So Esther Schuler, we'll call on you first. And then John Kochnick. And if you get behind Esther Schuler, we'll have more people can be heard in the 10 minutes. 10 minutes for everybody, not just you, Mrs. Schuler.
I'd like to thank the City Council very, very sincerely for the passage of item 7, and just urge that in your thinking, you will consider that $800,000 for the city attorney for 1 year is just for 1 year, and that in that 1 year, he's just going to compile a database, and in that 1 year, an ordinance is going to have to be passed by the city council about retail licensing. So that's not going to, there's not going to be very much happening in that first year except getting ready. And so I'm hoping that the city council will sincerely consider tobacco settlement funds for the second year of the city attorney's program out of some motion or other. Thank you very much.
John Kotnick and then Alice Van Open. If you people want to be heard, you better get up to the microphone because the time is running. Carl Cohn. Susan Fleshman. Go ahead, give your name, please.
Alicia Van Oyen. I'm with Tarzana Treatment Center. I'm representing two fronts. One, the Women's Tobacco Coalition, which is a member of the Los Angeles County Tobacco Control Alliance, and Tarzana Treatment Center Primary Care, which is a member of the Community Clinic Association of Los Angeles. And I'd like to support the appropriation of funds to the Public Health Task Force. I had attended a Public Health Task Force meeting earlier, I think in April, and they were very objective and very balanced in their discussions. And I request that those meetings be open so the public can attend. Thank you.
Carl Cohen. Or
Good morning. I'm Carl Cohen. I'm the director of the Pediatric and Family Medical Center, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the funding of the Public Health Task Force. It is very clear that the money for the that we're talking about came as a result of a major public health issue, that being the use of tobacco and the illnesses that arise from that. We need a strong health task force to look at those issues, to look at what is going to be funded with this money, and we want this task force to include people from the community, members of the Community Clinic Association, the community clinics, and those that represent the traditional safety net providers who are most in need of addressing this issue in communities that do not have access to health care. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Fleshman and then Richard Brown. And then Dana Knoll. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Susan Fleischman. I'm the medical director of the Venice Family Clinic in Venice. We serve working poor families who are uninsured on the west side of Los Angeles, and I'm also here to support the appropriation of $5.75 million from the general fund to the Public Health Task Force. The major damage from tobacco on our society has been on individual and community health, and if the intention of this settlement is to repay society, then at least part of that money should go back into community and individual health. As a physician at a community clinic serving the uninsured, I see the damages of tobacco every day. Heart attacks, congestive heart failure, vascular disease, and emphysema, besides just the lung cancer that we all hear about. Please allow this money to go back into the public health system and to the Public Health Task Force, who will determine how that money is to be spent. And as at least a third of the smokers in Los Angeles are uninsured, please include community and safety net providers in that task force so that we can reach those individuals as well. Thank you.
Richard Brown and then Dana Knoll.
Good morning. My name is Richard Brown. I'm professor of public health at the UCLA School of Public Health and director of the UCLA Center for Health Policy Research. I was also a member of the Public Health Task Force of the City Legislative Analyst and was part of the group that recommended the process of allocating funds to tobacco and other kinds of public health prevention and treatment programs. I'm here to speak in support of option A to allocate those funds, $5.75 million, to the Public Health Task Force to make recommendations back to this council, bringing to the council the expertise of public health professionals, public health scientists, and community-based organizations and service providers. Thank you.
Dana Knoll and then Lorraine Estrada.
Good morning. I'm Dana Knoll, the Administrative Services Director at Watts Health Foundation. I'm here representing that organization and the Community Clinic Association of Los Angeles County. We are in support of the Mark Ridley Thomas and Jackie Goldberg recommendation to identify funds and forward that information on to the Public Health Task Force and to include community clinics in the decision of how those funds will be allocated. Thank you.
Lorraine Estrada, and then Sam Vega.
Good morning. My name is Lorraine Estradas. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Arroyo Vista Family Health Center, a private nonprofit public health service health center. I am also the Vice President of the Community Clinic Association of Los Angeles County, an association of several community clinics located in the county and city of Los Angeles. I am here on behalf of Arroyo Vista and the Community Clinic Association in support of option A, that part of the tobacco settlement funds be allocated to healthcare services. I have provided copies of an analysis of the health and economic effects of smoking that my staff will be passing out. And in the interim, while they're passing this out, I want to take this opportunity.
Sergeant, would you take those papers from the lady?
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Richard Alatorre for his 28 years of dedicated public service.
That's
to
not
the
on, that's
14th
not on the
District
agenda
Review
today.
Press. Thank you. Who under his leadership, Arroyo Vista was established 18 years ago. We serve the federally designated medically underserved health manpower shortage area communities of Northeast Los Angeles. By the end of this year, Arroyo Vista will experience 70,000 patient visits. Many of these visits are by patients with medical diagnoses resulting from tobacco use, such as coronary artery disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, such as asthma, bronchitis, emphysema, as well as hypertension. It is because there is a dire need for funds to treat tobacco-related diseases, and because Arroyo Vista believes that the spirit of the tobacco settlement was to use these funds for medical conditions and for the prevention of medical conditions resulting from tobacco use.
Thank you.
We urge the council to support that part of the tobacco settlement funds be used for healthcare service. We support the Honorable Margaret Lee Thomas and the Honorable Jackie Goldberg's motion for a public health task force to be established, and we urge your support as well. We also support that the Public Health Task Force include membership from community clinics that serve Angelenos, a large proportion of which are medically indigent patients suffering from tobacco-related diseases. Our community's medical needs and demands are urgent and immediate. Community clinics are underfunded, yet we continue
Mrs.
to
Estrada,
provide
you're
services.
taking all the time. We have Sam Vega who wants to be heard, please.
He's part of my group.
Okay, then we won't hear from him.
Okay.
Go ahead, you might as well use up the rest of the time.
Okay, just want to say that a 1996 University of San Francisco study indicated that there are approximately 1/2 million smokers in the city of Los Angeles who require health care in the amount of $1 billion, amounting to $2,014 per smoker annually. Recent studies show that this is in the rise. Community clinics are underfunded, yet we continue to provide health care, often uncompensated, to patients unable to pay for their care. Use of tobacco settlement funds for medical care is highly appropriate and critically needed, and it must be used to meet the escalating healthcare needs of Los Angeles' most vulnerable citizens who are losing healthcare benefits each day. We have a healthcare crisis in our hands. It must be addressed, and we respectfully urge your support of the tobacco settlement funds to be allocated to the Public Health Task Force so that it can be used for the treatment and prevention of tobacco-related diseases. Thank you.
Okay, we have Karen Bass. I think will probably be the last one.
Thank you. My name is Karen Bass. I'm the Executive Director of the Community Coalition for Substance Abuse Prevention and Treatment, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the motion. And I also wanted to thank Councilwoman Walters for clarifying the enforcement as it related to nuisance abatement. We're very concerned about the formation of the task force and really hope that the council supports the notion of the work of the public task force, that is going to take probably 60 to 90 days to figure out what should happen with the remainder of the tobacco settlement money. We think that it's very important that the money go for healthy alternatives for youth, and that there are a variety of concerns and issues that we believe could be covered with this funding. So we're speaking on behalf of the motion and on behalf of the work of the Public Health Task Force. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The time is up, and so we'll close the public hearing.
Excuse me, Mr. President, you had called my name while I was out of the room. John.
Well, I'm sorry, but we used up the time.
Thank you very
And
much.
I'm sure you're in favor of what a lot of people have been saying.
Yes, I am.
We'll make the cards part of the file. Okay, the
I'm sorry.
time is closed, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but you haven't heard anyone on
Mrs.
the
Chick,
curb
you
cut.
called it special.
Again, without getting into the discussions of the merits of the two different proposals, I would like in the discussion, and I would turn to my colleagues who are making the recommendations, to better define underserved neighborhoods in terms of the criteria that are going to be used to identify underserved neighborhoods. And also, I'm interested in assurances that the recommendation to, if that's the one that we choose, to allocate funding to augment competitive proposals for Prop K funding, how do we assure that those proposals and those funds are specifically for youth recreation programs, since we know that Prop K funding can fund other kinds of open space and recreation programs. So those would be the two issues that I would like to have addressed in the ensuing conversation. Thank you.
Mr. Fuhrer.
Actually, Mr. President, can we get, before I speak, can we get a report from Mr. Deaton and then, if I could speak?
Okay, hold the time.
Mr. President, members of the council, what you have before you is a report from the Ad hoc Committee on the City Budget. Items 1 through 3 essentially were agreed to by the committee and provides for a 5-year plan to be submitted to the Department of Justice relative to complying with the Americans for Disabilities Act relative to sidewalks, and that a transition plan would be back to the council to submit to the Department of Transportation. That, in the, doing a little bit of a backdrop here, roughly $14 million is anticipated in the next fiscal year from the tobacco settlement, $11 million the following year, and someplace between $12.5, $13 million on an annual basis thereafter. What this report has suggested is roughly $8 million of the $14 million anticipated next year would be used for this the sidewalk plan, and we would appropriate the money from the general fund in anticipation of, from the reserve fund in anticipation of that money coming in later in the year. Item 4 is two alternatives relative to what was unresolved in committee. One was the to transfer to the UB $5.75 million of the remaining money and request the report back in 60 days on its use. The other item, item B, is to take 4 of the fund, the $5.75 million, and use it to match in the competitive bid process for Prop K projects that is going out July 1st for parks in areas that both have underserved neighborhoods by leveraging existing resources, primarily Prop K, but also unused city land, school resources, et cetera, in that process. So what you have before you is, I think there is resolution on 1 through 3, but on 4 is a policy decision of taking the $5.75 million remaining and ask for a report back on that, or B, leave $1.75 million to be reviewed and come back to the council and dedicate $4 million of it to Prop K competitive bid process in the next fiscal year.
Thank you. Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. Fuhrer.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Mr. Dean just stated, what's relatively uncontroversial about what's before us, and I'm going to move the report and 4B, and I'd like a second for that, please. Thank you. Is to provide curb cuts, to assure enforcement, as we've discussed, and to create healthy alternatives for kids in 2 different ways, by allocating $4 million of the 5.75 to recreational opportunities in underserved areas for kids, and $1.75 million to joint committees for distribution. And I would welcome, in fact, I will move that the Public Health Task Force be part of that process. That's what's in 4B. Let me review why 4B is the one that I'm urging you all to adopt today. Curb cuts, of course, have been strongly endorsed by the disabled community. Enforcement has been strongly backed by the health community. There's wide agreement about that. What about the $5.75 million for year 1? The committee and the CLA, over months, reviewed dozens of proposals for how to spend that money. The Public Health Task Force made specific recommendations, and among those recommendations was funding healthy alternatives for kids. So the committee and the CLA proposed targeting money specifically to underserved areas to create healthy recreational alternatives for kids as a supplement to Prop K. I want to be clear, underserved areas now cannot within Prop K get disproportionate emphasis because it's a citywide assessment district. This funding is our opportunity to address the often contentious issue on this floor, which we ought to be able to cut through, because we should all agree that underserved areas of our city need to get more recreational alternatives that create a healthy environment for kids and inspire them to pursue athletics and other pursuits rather than smoking. There are other programs on the table. They're health-related programs. The county has several pools of funds allocable to health, which is a county responsibility. One is $5 million a year from Prop 99. Two is between $170 and $300 million a year from Prop 10. And the third is a $3 billion amount of money available from the tobacco settlement for the county. If we fail to take advantage of directing this $4 million for underserved areas pursuant to 4B, we will lose the opportunity until 2001 to even begin to address the disproportionate lack of access in our city in underserved areas for kids to recreational opportunities. And 2 more years beyond that before the money becomes available. It's a long time to wait. The kids are waiting to play. Give them a chance. We can make our dollars count much more as a city with city responsibilities for recreation and parks by allocating the $4 million now and making those underserved areas a priority. And I want to conclude by saying that by adopting 4B, we not only do what I just said, but we continue to preserve the opportunity for the Public Health Task Force and Council to decide on a remaining $1.75 million, which could still be used for health-related purposes. 4B is the best of all worlds, and I urge unanimous support.
Thank you. Ms. Goldberg.
Yes, first I'd like to divide the question and let us do 1 through 3 and then divide 4, and I would move 4B. The problem that I'm having is I'm moving 4A, excuse me, 4A, thank you. 4A, I'm moving 4A. First of all, I think it's more than 5.75. I think it may be 6.5 million, but we'll worry about that later. Whatever is remaining, I don't know whether the best thing to do is to have put this into parks and recreation, or whether it's to put it into health care programs, or whether it's to put it into anti-tobacco advertising, or whether it's to put it into funding for the uninsured through living wage, or any of the other ideas. That's why I'm urging that we vote on the process today. There is no hurry to spend this money. We don't even have it in yet. The only hurry was the curb cuts. And we have a group of people, experts, community-based organizations, public health experts from institutions who are more than willing to help us. And I don't understand what the rush is to identify that we have to do X today, when I would much rather give them 60 days and find out, have them report back to us, put this in the UB, what's ever left and not spent by items 1 through 3, and then make a decision. If it is that we should put it into Prop K, we can then do that. But if we do that now, we preclude the thorough examination by people who are willing to voluntarily help us look at not just the current year, but future years as well, and to have a real plan for this money that might actually change the outcome for people in communities. So I'm not opposed to Prop K. God knows I have little enough park in my district. I'm opposed to making that decision today and not giving us an opportunity to hear from people who are willing to help us for free. The price is right. and come back in 60 days and give us their best recommendations on not only this year's funding, but a plan for the future as well. So I would urge a vote on 4A and would ask that you separate the question, Mr. Chair, so that we can vote on 1 through 3, because I'm sure there's unanimity on that, and then have 4A and send it to the task force. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. President, members of the council, this is not an easy decision for me because the needs are so tremendous, especially in our district. The district I represent is a district that currently continues to be resource poor and people rich. Now, I say that because the options here, neither one is a bad option. But my realities today, as the city of Los Angeles, not as the county, is that I deal with the role of the city. And to me, the demands of our schools are such that they're asking for more open space. And it's happening on a day-to-day basis, especially now that they're going through the Prop BB and those expenditures. And the realities of Prop K have told me that Prop K is not enough. And when we debate the needs of inequity in the city, you see, I know that setting aside the monies for Prop K now can be spent now. There are demands now that'll start helping these children in our districts immediately. I know that something simple like putting lights at Lincoln High School will make that facility available on weekends and in the evenings. I know that the soccer fields we've been able to accomplish, and we need to build many more, are being used by numbers that nobody even heard of. Tremendous numbers. And to me, my realities are, I'm very much park space poor. I know that the community-based organizations are trying to buy buildings so that they can provide their services and reduce their overhead throughout the city. And I know it because I chair the Community Economic Development Committee, and I know it because I sit on the Ad Hoc Committee on Children, Youth, and their Families. So I'm explaining that because I think option B gives us the choices that we're talking about. And it allows us to work on the Public Health Task Force issues. It doesn't shut them out. But I think we also need to understand the role of the county and make sure that they're trying to fulfill their role, because the county does not provide parks in my district. The county is not developing the relationship with schools in my district. And so I just feel strongly that because of the population I represent, because of the demands in my district, and the realities that this money can be spent to satisfy some of those demands, that I have to support 4B.
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, I think this is a worthwhile debate, and there are bona fide conflicting claims or competing interests here, but in the final analysis, I think all of this is designed to be friendly to those kinds of uses that would improve the quality of life in the city for largely young people. The significant difference, I think, is with 4A, is that we have an opportunity to honor a process where we get better thinking, more input, and have then the opportunity to expand the way in which these resources can be utilized. If we were to move with 4A, which is what I wish to recommend, the Public Health Task Force that we caused to come into being can continue to do its work, look at a menu of options, not the least of which would be some of those that have been mentioned this morning. The prospect of an enforcement scenario with two prongs is just one example, but we look at the range of those uses that are listed in the motion that went to the ad hoc committee on the budget that did its work well. But in the final analysis, if we want to look at more options rather than less options, it would seem that we would then be obliged to support 4 4A. Mr. President, members of the council, we have reached considerable consensus in this regard. Now the question is whether we are prepared to take the next step to do what needs to be done to make this better, rather than preclude options that would effectively cause us to even make what is already something that is promising more promising. So I would just simply urge all of us to honor the fact that there is a public health task force that's prepared to work to refine the healthy alternatives for youth, which could in fact be inclusive of parks. We don't say that they are not acceptable. We simply say this discussion is appropriately broader than that. And with that in mind, may I then appeal to my colleagues to support 4A. I thank you.
Ms. Galanter. Mrs. Walders.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just very quickly, the city attorney, well, you're representing CLA. Does the city attorney have any more firm figure about actually how much money we're going to receive? Or does anybody?
You have to ask them.
City attorney, where are you?
I don't believe that at this point they do.
All right. In addition to that, I'd like to amend the report to indicate that we get quarterly reports from the city attorney's office. There's nobody here from the city attorney's office to respond to the questions?
We
where are you
have some
going?
people, but
Somebody from the city attorney's office, please. Anybody?
Jim Hahn.
Carmel Sella, Special Assistant City Attorney. The city will be receiving $312 million over 20 years, and as was stated before, $14 million in the year 2000.
Do you have, is that a firm figure?
Pursuant to the agreement, the national settlement, yes.
That'd be 14 million?
Correct.
Not a penny less, not a penny more?
That's right. And that'll be received on April 15th, the year 2000.
Okay. I would like to ask the city attorney's office to report to Budget and Finance on a quarterly basis with respect to the monies that have been received, that are in the pipeline, and what we can anticipate in the future.
Sure.
Mr. Holden.
Mr. President, members, I think we learned from history, and we had a program like this after the civil unrest in '65, where the federal government provided model cities, model neighbors money for the city of Los Angeles. The city of Los Angeles adopted a model cities program, such as the one that is tailored around 4A, planning, uses with administrative costs, etc. Whereas the County of Los Angeles adopted a model neighbors program, which was quite different, and still are with us for our use. Whereas the money for use for the 4A type program has been long come and gone. It used up in administrative costs for programs that may have not worked successfully in some cases. The Model Neighbors program is now Madame Kilbrew Library in South Central. Alleys paved, street lighting, curb cuts, all that money from Model Neighbors that was spent in the county is still benefiting the people of the community. Whereas the other type administrative cost programs they're going to spend anyway, we can't touch, feel, or use it. Now, I would say that if we can adopt 4B, the parks will be here as long as we maintain them. And other facilities that will be acquired by these monies that have been made available to us and for our use. For generations to come, as was with the Model Neighbors program, it will benefit our community. It will not be wasted, and not necessarily wasted, but used and dissipated at administrative costs, as would be with 4A. So I would support the 4B type projects, and because they have proven their work not just for here and now, but for many years to come for the good of our communities. Of course, we need more parks. I think that became a major issue just a month or 2 months ago, that we were park poor, 8th, 9th, and 10th district, and of course, the 1st. And this would afford us an opportunity to balance this out to some degree. When you condemn property, it's called inverse condemnation. You must have put the money up to acquire that property for the so-called community parks. Here, fortunately, we've been provided a golden opportunity to do that. And for that reason, Mr. President and members, I would urge that we support Mr. Fuhrer. Let me just say this. Our support 4B.
All right, Mr. Fuhrer.
I'll pass, John.
Mrs. Chick, you want to pass too? No. Would you please stand up?
I am confident that the younger generation, soon to be represented by tall Mr. Padilla, will be much more polite about my height. And wait till you see my new platform shoes. These are both very good proposals and therefore a difficult decision to make, although I am respectful of the Public Health Task Force and their role in this. And so the final question I have to decide which I'm going to support is the whole issue of timing. And for some response, Mr. Deaton, if it's you that can address this, what is the downside or the upside, the downside of a 60-day delay? I mean, that doesn't seem like a very long period of time to get definitive recommendations from a task force that's been charged to do this very kind of thing. What impact does it have for us to hold off for 60 days?
Probably the major issue is the RFP that's being released on July 1st for Prop K for competitive grants for the next 2 years. My recollection is, as I've been just told by Victoria, the responses are due September 30th. So there would be some work that would have to be done by agencies in either anticipation of supplemental funds that are being suggested, and so there would be some uncertainty during that period of time about whether or not they would
when is
have
the
funds.
RFP going out on this?
July 1st.
So
Well, it's
between now and July 1st, we're going to be able to figure out the details of this, some of the questions I was asking in terms of identifying underserved communities and really focusing on youth-serving projects, and you'll be able to change the RFP and augment it between now and July 1st. That's one question. And two, isn't it possible that in 60 days, if it's decided that, all of this or a smaller amount would go to augment Prop K, that we could either extend the period or do a supplemental?
The answer to both questions, I think, is yes. One is that we could do a supplemental if at any point in time that could be done. On the first part of it, though, I think that it is a competitive bid process, and what will be included in the RFP, both in the RFP as proposed, and even if these monies are not included, is the targeting of trying to target unserved areas in any event. This
Right.
would provide supplemental dollars, and they will be evaluated based on the proposal's ability to serve those areas. So we'll be developing, there has been surveys, and we've also been over the last 2 years building up to, in fact, do evaluations based on a better understanding of what are underserved areas in any event. So that process has been going on.
Okay, so the answer is we still could add the dollars and put it into competitive for Prop K.
Right.
But
It would be better if it didn't happen that way.
Right.
It's not fatal if it doesn't.
Right.
Okay.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Ms. Goldberg?
And I
did
think
it from
that's
the
just the
get-go.
point. It's not fatal if it doesn't happen that way, and to not have an idea of what the plan ought to be I'm one of the 3 or 4 councils which is the most park poor. And this is not an easy thing for me to say, but it is absolutely true that there are probably unmet health care needs of children and youth in my family that are more important than more parks. And that's hard to say, but I believe that it is true. And we have one proposal that for $3 million they can open a school-based health clinic in each of our districts, an additional one. That would be run forever by the county dollars. That's one-time money. Maybe that's the best way to do. I don't know. That's why I didn't bring in, I forewent my own proposal, which was that, to say we have people willing to help us look at this. Let's take the 60 days and look at it. After they come back, I'm sure they will look at rec and parks. They will look at all of these issues, because all of these issues are a part of a master plan. But it would be a good idea. We don't have to rush. We should take the 60 days, and I just urge that we do that so that we can get some idea of the range of possibilities for these needs and which way we could possibly go to make it the best use of money that has come out of the pain and suffering of a lot of people and deaths of a lot of people due to tobacco.
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, I rise simply to reiterate, I guess, that we have come a long way in arriving at what I think to be agreement on how to utilize at least some of these resources. I guess the point to be made is this. We can decide to do that which is good, or we can decide to do something which is really better. My point of view is simple. It would be better to adopt 4A for the purpose of allowing those who have given this some thought to honor the process of having citizen input and involvement from those who represent a wide spectrum of views from the public policy perspective, and it will at least include that which 4A considers, but it goes beyond that. In other words, parks are part of 4A. 4B precludes the consideration of other uses of these resources. It substantially diminishes the other resources so as to effectively, Sergeant, please cause Mr. Fuhrer to stay in his seat. The point that I was going to make is 4A is broader, is more inclusive, and therefore, in my view, more compelling, because in the final analysis it will be better. Now, having said that, Mr. President, I trust that we can be together in terms of moving this issue forward in the best way possible. And with that, I would be glad to move the previous question.
Good try, Mark, good try.
Mr. Fuhrer.
Thanks. As we conclude here, I just want to emphasize a couple points. First, as I mentioned, for months, the committee reviewed with the CLA's important assistance dozens of proposals. The Public Health Task Force weighed in with a number of recommendations. Among those recommendations from the Public Health Task Force was that we direct resources to creating healthy alternatives for kids. It's from that recommendation that the proposal in 4B comes. It's already been done. It's there. 4B includes 2 important components. It allocates scarce funding to a city responsibility, addressing the problems that underserved communities confront when trying to create recreational opportunities for kids in a way that Prop K cannot do because it is so focused. And it preserves a continued role for the Public Health Task Force on nearly $2 million. I urge that we vote on 4B. Thank you.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, I actually wasn't going to speak again, but I do not believe it's a fair assessment of the work of the task force to say that because they mentioned that recs and parks was an idea that they could support, that that's the essence of their report. And if the essence of their report was that 4 million of the remaining 6.5 million should be spent that way, then why did they all come here today to say they wanted to have another crack at it? It's because they don't think that's the right apportionment. I don't know what they think is, but I think that they believe that there is a different way than to simply say 4 million, boom, it's gone. And I think that that's what we should be looking at is what is the relative amounts that should go in each direction, and that's why I support sending it back to the task force.
Okay, Mr. Burnson? Question. Mr. Burnson moves the previous question. Is there any objections to that, which means the debate is closed? Seeing none, we have item 1, 2, 3. There seems to be no objection to that, so prepare the roll on 8, 1, 2, 3. Tabulate the vote. No, 1, 2, 3. Are you opposed to 1, 2, 3, Mike? All right, prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Now we have 4A. Prepare the roll on 4A. Tabulate the vote.
5 ayes, 7 noes.
Now we have 4B. That 4A voted, 4A failed. Prepare the roll on 4B. Tabulate the vote.
9 ayes, 3 noes.
That is approved. Forthwith on that. Next item.
Item number 9, called special by Councilmember Hernandez.
Mike, you called 9 special?
Members of the council, we've been going around with 9 for a while, and there's an amendment that's being proposed. And basically what this amendment is allowing is for reconsideration of the RFPs on the written form. It's having the controller's office basically play the lead role in selecting 3 evaluators. It allows for us to put this issue behind us, and I'm just urging an aye vote on the amendment so that we could look at the I just wanted to make sure Councilman Altori's here for the vote. So 9B is basically another option. It asks that the written RFPs be reviewed, that a report come back to us, and that it be controlled by the controller's office, and we set this issue behind us so we can get the evaluation team done.
Okay. All right, is there any objections to that? Mr. Wax?
Someone give us an explanation of exactly how this process, I know it goes over the controller, but how the process, I mean, I'm looking
It
at
eliminates the oral interviews.
different kind of points and all that, how this differs from the normal
Okay.
process. I just need to know what I'm voting on. I know it sends it over to the controller, I understand that, but then there are 4 paragraphs here which spell out certain things, no oral, no enhancement, certain points allotted for certain categories.
The points are the same points that were the
How does
previous-
that, can staff just compare
Yeah.
that to the current process?
Okay.
Can we-
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with that.
Someone? I mean, is there any staff here on this?
They died. Yeah.
Is there staff here? What I'd really like to know is, other than the obvious of putting this under the controller's aegis, how does the rest of the motion, the process spelled out in 9A, you don't have even a copy? Oh, well then, they should take a moment to look at it. So, I'm curious how this differs from the current, the process we normally use on these things beyond the involvement of the controller. Maybe the city attorney knows, or Ms. Clark, I don't know. I mean, is this point spread the same as we normally use? Is the use of oral or not the same? Could you go through these 4 points and sort of see how this compares to the normal process? I don't have any problem with the controller as such. I have great faith in the controller, but I want to know what kind of process I'm buying into, and does it skew it by the virtue of the process?
Sure. And the point spread, my understanding, was the same one they used initially.
Could you go over it?
Yeah. Pamela Snowden, Deputy City Attorney. I can speak to some of these matters, and then Ms. Clark from the department will speak to some of the others. This is a departure from the standard negotiated procurement process that the city has traditionally used and has stood the city in good stead for a number of years. The prohibition on oral interviews is a radical departure from the standard procedure. Yes, because oral interviews are an integral part of the negotiated procurement process. This is not a sealed bid or a competitive bid process where the city is buying widgets. The city is buying professional services. And this is a different process from the widget buying process, and oral interviews are an integral part of that process. It's felt that just reviewing the proposals, the written proposals, is one part of the process, but then oral interviews, which are conducted for the purpose of clarification, which is not enhancement. Enhancement is a term that has legal relevance only in connection with the sealed bid process. Clarification is a standard part of the negotiated procurement process. Once again, we're buying professional services, not widgets. Let's see. In terms of the panel composed of 3 senior employees, I believe the panel whose results are being considered was composed of 2 senior city employees, not of CDD, and 1 person from the private sector. Let's see.
Can I ask Mr. Hernandez to make a motion? I don't have a problem with going to the controller. I do have a problem if the city attorney says that eliminating the oral is a radical departure and it's an integral part of the process. Why, if you trust the controller and you trust the 3 people they pick and all, then why can't you have the normal, let them be in charge of the normal process?
What's happened in this case, Mr. Wax, we're reviewing the same proposals that were previously submitted, where there was basically a declaration from the city attorney of a conflict of interest because one of the reviewers had basically established conflict.
Okay, so send it over to
in that
reviewers.
process.
Yeah.
In that process, there was dialogue that went on between the proposals, and now the response that comes in the orals basically allows for the changing of the initial proposal.
What I'm assuming is that you'd have new orals by the people you now trust, the controllers, 3 people. Under their supervision, there would still be the oral because it's an integral part of the process, but it wouldn't be the old oral. It would be under the new people who you want.
And again, as long as the orals do not change the proposal. See, what it allows is, what do you mean by staff? How many staff would you assign to this or assign to that? That's where the orals has basically been the area that people were accusing of a change. When I previously voted for the previous process, I was under the understanding, and that might have been my misconception on the debate, that there wasn't going to be an oral interview, that they were going to review the written proposals. My understanding is that both proposals are very close. And so something happens, because once they go through the orals, now things change. And so again, it's not something I'm going to fight over. I just want a fresh review, and I need to make sure it's as objective as possible.
Your time is up. You can talk to each other. So, Mrs. Walters.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am very concerned about the suggestion here when I see the city attorney say that this is a drastic departure from a practice that has held the city in good stead for many, many years, and that the additional oral interview was entirely appropriate. Those weren't your words, but that's what I deduced from what you said.
That's correct.
In this thing. So, council members, I'm not willing at this part to take such a departure from past proven practices and to bring the city controller in. I certainly respect the city controller, but this is not the procedure that we've had, and I believe that what we've done to date with the second round serves the purpose of selecting a vendor, and I believe staff has recommended that. And I will take the staff's recommendation and the city attorney's recommendation on that.
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, you may recall that we went through a rather exhaustive process in the first instance to learn by way of city attorney recommendation that the process should be reviewed, that is to say, start over again. It came to council. The council directed the appropriate parties to abide by the city attorney's decision. In this instance, the city attorney is saying to us, the recommendation that comes before us is clean, it is legitimate, it is defensible, it is proper, and it would seem to me that the language being used now is that what is being suggested or requested is extraordinary, and I would say unwarranted. My point of view is simple. Either we're going to get on with the evaluation of LA bridges or we are not. A delay is not in the interest of the program. If we are to be governed by what triggered some of this, which was legal considerations related to conflict of interest, then I would think that we should then appeal to the entity that caused us to reconsider our first decision and redo the process, namely the city attorney, who is now saying we are on solid ground to proceed with the recommendation that is before us. And with that in mind, members of the council, I would simply say to you that we are in good stead, and to the extent that we are in good stead, I would say that we should proceed. The motion before us is one that essentially causes us to do this for a third time, and it is not required, nor is it necessary. Therefore, I would say that we should not adopt the motion before us, but in turn move forward with the recommendation to select the recommended vendor to get on with the business of evaluating LA bridges, which is a pressing priority. Thank you.
Mr. Alatorre.
Mr. President, members, I'm going to ask Mr. Hernandez that I think that what Mr. Wax raised on the question of the oral interviews maybe shouldn't be a deal breaker. I think that maybe you should consider doing that. And then if that is acceptable with you, then I'd like to speak on the motion as amended. Okay? Right, Mr. President and members, unlike what Mr. Bentley Thomas stated, this has been a very troublesome process. And there were things that were done even after we raised the issue of the conflict of interest and the propriety, or the manner in which the propriety of the way that they conducted the process. Even the second time there was a problem. Certain things were requested which I didn't believe were a big deal, so that it would take away any suspicion about the objectivity of the process and whether it was fair, and they turned that down. And many of the things that came up as a result of it ended up raising suspicion about the objectivity of it. I think what Mr. Hernandez now has before us, I think, is taking it out, and let us just, do it up and down. Let's try and come up with a legitimate process that I believe Mr. Hernandez has spelled out, so long as, and he's agreed that there should be an oral interview. But this way, there's a question about, the manner in which, decisions were made on this. Take it out, put it in the controller's office. Yes, this is something different, but it is not something that we have not done, maybe not with the controller, but with other agencies, so that we have a fair playing field, that we have a process that is going to be, above any suspicion. And let's get it done once and for all, and whatever the decision is from this body that is constituted should be approved by the city council. But the way that it stands now, unless, unless Mr. Hernandez's motion is approved, I will vote against it, because, there is a problem. That's going to get down to how long are we going to go through this before we throw the whole thing out. I would rather go along with the process that Mr. Hernandez has set out, and let's get it over and done with, because we have to evaluate the Bridges program before not only the mayor, but other people feel satisfied that we should expand the program. But there has to be a thorough evaluation of it, not an analysis and a dissertation for somebody on this program. It is an analysis of the effectiveness of this program. That's what we have asked for, and that's what we should get. So I would respectfully ask for an aye vote for Mr. Hernandez's motion as amended.
All right.
If not, then a no vote if it
Okay.
isn't.
All right, Mrs. Chick.
I was going to ask to hear from Gloria Stevenson Clark. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's
Sometimes
correct.
I reverse. So let me give you that opportunity. I feel that I've made my views known. I think it is so important that we go ahead and get this evaluation done, and have expressed my comfort with the decision that was made. But if you would explain to us, from your point of view, how things played out and what we have before us, I think it's very relevant.
Thank you very much. I would say that the second review process that has been conducted in accordance with the request of the council has been done so under the supervision of the city attorney at every step. The process did involve the CAO's office, the CLA's office, and an outside evaluator, all of whom followed the procedure exactly as the city attorney approved it. And I would say that the oral interview process was found to be extremely important. Throughout all of the Bridges reviews, it is one thing to write a good proposal, it's something else to determine whether or not someone really has the capability. And I just wanted to say, in response to Councilman Wax's question, the motion does deviate in terms of the point spread from the prior score that was utilized in the other two sessions. Right, so it is a difference in terms of what was presented here.
All right, Mrs. Chick, are you completed? Mr. Hernandez?
You know, members of the council, for some reason, every time Ms. Clark speaks, it's real bothersome to me. She made the statement that it's another thing whether someone can perform. And the reality is, that's the bias that I've been questioning. A bias that I think the department has showed in this process, and I'm willing to say it openly. And that's what I'm trying to make sure does not exist. Now, I think Ms. Chick asked some good questions. But initially, when the initial RFP went out, the first one, the very first one, it had points assigned to it. And now we're talking about no points. The second time around. That decision was made by the department. Okay, the decision to put points and not to put points.
No CDD staff have been involved in the scoring of these proposals whatsoever. This has been done by the evaluation task force, was set up, the whole RFP process was set
And there was
by
no
the
points
evaluation
assigned to
task force.
it at the beginning.
Yes, points have been assigned to it by the task force, which are all independently appointed by the.
Are these points in accordance with that?
The points of the motion are different than those that
That were assigned
by the
initially by the task force?
By the task force, that's
Okay,
correct.
I don't have a problem with changing that points system. Now, what I'm really trying to say right now is, I'm trying to make sure we have an agreement. Right now, I do not believe this has been an unbiased process. Now, some of us do believe that, and I don't have a problem with that perception. The reality is, I don't have that same perception. Now, in asking for this new process, and I'm willing to go with the amendments Mr. Wax said, I want to put this behind us. I want to put behind who the initial people were that evaluated, that set it up. I want to put behind all those kinds of discussions and feel comfortable that what comes back as the person selected is going to give us a credible evaluation, something that we're going to be able to use as a tool for basically the preservation of a program because it's a good program. If we cannot use this tool, I'm not sure the program will be preserved. And that's why I'm arguing to basically make sure this process is not biased. And I just ask for an aye vote, and again, I support the amendment.
President, members, I think the worst thing that could happen with this case where LA Bridges is designed to help the disadvantaged youth and get them briefed in terms of how do you get involved in our system and become better citizens and help their parents, et cetera. And they want to evaluate the program to see whether or not we are on target. So it's got good cause there. But then you have 7 members on one side said that the process is flawed, 7 members on the other side saying it's flawed. Then there's a real problem here. I think we don't want to leave with that perception. We'd like to have a unanimous vote for a program like this. It looks like we're not going to get it, and here's why. The evaluators who were sitting there at the last meeting, when it became 7-7, said they were not aware of the fact that the city attorney had been requested to tape the meetings, the oral interviews. And the city attorney was asked, why didn't you do that? And she said, well, I just didn't do it. Now, it suggested to me, and that's why I voted the other way, that had they been notified in advance they should tape the meeting, they would have taped the meeting, and they could have been critiqued if something had gone wrong. Well, at least it eradicated the shadow of a doubt that now exists, where the losing person didn't think they got a fair hearing. And they suspected that right throughout the whole process. So I would say that we don't want to leave that cloud over our conduct. Now, I'll ask the city attorney once again. The request was made of you to have those oral interviews taped, yes or no? You said yes that last meeting. You didn't hesitate.
Yeah, it was different.
Different city attorney?
I'm not the city attorney. That,
the other one that was here.
My understanding is that the panel wanted to know whether they were required to tape it, I believe, and our advice was that taping was not required.
You said that last time, but you didn't tell them that a request was made that they tape the meetings. You said that taping was not required.
That's correct.
Which city attorney was here last time? Different one?
Ms. Julie Downey.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My apologies. We should got to have some continuity here.
Yes, I understand.
The fact of the matter is that what she stated, and it's on tape, that she did not share that information with the evaluators, that the request was being made that they taped the oral interviews, and the person who made the request was suspicious of what had already transpired, which suggested that there might have been a conflict. And I think that would cloud the whole process. I don't see, if you think the team that you're recommending is the best, what's wrong with just resubmitting it? And let's go with this proposal that he's have before us.
Councilman, I have confidence in the 2 panels prior to this that the same group has been selected as number 1 twice, and we're anxious to move ahead with the evaluation. The issue of the...
I'm over with my time.
I'm sorry.
I understand your point of view, but 7 members of the council, when they voted on it, were not in accord with that thinking.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
what I'm
Holden.
saying.
Mr. Wax?
Clarify what I'm going to make a substitute motion that you do it with the controller and the panel that you described, but that they follow the regular evaluation procedure, the point spread, the oral, et cetera, and then let them, 3 independent people I trust the controller implicitly, using the regular procedure, the procedure you use to make the evaluation, the oral, the written, the point spread, and let them come back and I would accept what they say. So that would be my substitute motion, that we do send it to the controller comprised of a panel of 3 senior employees who are familiar with applied evaluation methodologies, et cetera, using this, and evaluate it using the same procedure, the regular procedure that you normally use for evaluating these, and that would be my motion.
Mr. Hernandez seconds. Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Previous question, Mr. President.
All right, is there any objection to the previous question? Okay, the previous question has been imposed. Yeah, that's about the only thing.
Yes,
I
sir.
prepare the roll on Mr. Wax's substitute motion.
I urge a no vote on that motion.
Mr. Wax's motion, and which Mr. Hernandez second.
Yeah.
A no vote on Mr. Wax's motion.
Prepare the roll.
A no vote.
Tabulate the vote.
6 ayes, 6 noes.
That's it. Now Now what do we have before us? The
9A,
the original
that-
motion?
It's on the desk, yes, the original motion.
All right. The motion.
It's a motion that you want to vote for, believe me.
The what?
I ask for no vote.
Prepare the
Ask for
roll.
a no vote.
Prepare the roll.
The yes vote,
No vote.
Mr. Alatorre meant to say yes, a
I'm
yes
asking for
vote.
no vote.
Tabulate the vote.
7 ayes, 5 noes.
That failed.
Mr. President,
one last
is it possible to move that we just send the whole thing back out to
Yeah,
RFP?
I'd like to, Mr.
Because we can't agree on either one of these.
That motion is
proposals.
available.
Yes.
That would be my motion at this time.
Yes,
that the
I'd like to
process just start
second
over
that.
again. New
All right, is
RFP.
there any
Get it over
object, is that any objection to sending it back to, for a new RFP?
Can we do that with, under the Brown Act? There's no notice of that motion?
It's,
No,
yeah.
it's-
Just want to know yes or no.
It's
Yes.
yes.
City attorney says
Under the
yes.
Brown Act, you may do that. If
Yes.
Just
this
wanted
is
to check.
pertinent to what's
I would ask for an aye vote.
This is 3 votes without agreement. and
All
I
right,
just
prepare
say-
the roll on Mr.
Urge a
Hernandez.
no vote,
Ask for an
Aye
aye
vote.
vote.
Prepare,
a no vote.
tabulate the vote.
6 ayes, 6 noes.
All right.
Good, we'll keep on
okay.
going. We'll have this
we
program
have a-
evaluated.
Mr. President, may I suggest
by
that we just leave it on the
2001.
desk?
We have a motion to, is there a motion to continue until
Yes.
July
Move it.
6th? When we'll have 15 members?
That's I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
Yeah.
All right, is there any objection to continue this item until July?
Well, is there any
July
objection to
6th.
leaving it on the desk? This is getting to be more, you know.
Oh, yeah, well, this is the third time, and we,
We're trying to set new
yeah.
precedent, Mr.
Okay.
President.
Okay, there's no objections, it'll be continued until July 6th. Next item,
Item number
and
10,
we'll send that forthwith.
item number 10 called special by Councilmember Wack.
Mr. Wax?
Oh, well, I noticed that there was a split of opinion here,
Yeah,
so
let's,
could someone tell me what it
Let's
is?
get the city attorney and a city clerk.
You voted no. Alatorre, yes, Walters, no. So I was just curious what the difference was. Oh, do you have the information? Oh.
Could you
someone tell us what you
explain this first before I call him Mr. Wax?
Ronald Tuller, City Attorney's Office. This is a recommendation from the City Attorney to accept a settlement offer made by Sun America on a business tax audit that the City Clerk has performed. The essentials of the audit is that the City Clerk determined that this company, in performing all of the functions for a group of related insurance and non-insurance companies, was receiving reimbursements from the various companies for which its employees perform the work. Those reimbursements were taxed as gross receipts, resulting in a principal tax bill of about $1,707,000, and then with interest and penalty added on to that. The offer is to pay 100% of the amount that's been reimbursed by the non-insurance companies and 10% of the amount that has been reimbursed by the insurance companies, which comes out to about $312,000, and with the interest on that, it brings it up to $484,000, which is the amount of the offer. And we have recommended that.
Why are you recommending an amount roughly 6 times, 1/6 of what the clerk asked for?
Because there's a legal problem. An insurance company cannot be taxed by local entities. Agents of an insurance company cannot be taxed on the commissions that they receive from the insurance company in terms of selling insurance. In this case, this is an unknown situation. This is not exactly in the typical agent-type case, but in fact, this taxpayer is an agent in the broad sense of the insurance companies in that it performs all of the functions of the insurance company. And the argument against us will be that it is indeed an agent and it should be entitled to the same immunity that the insurance company is entitled to, therefore the city should get 0.
Well, if we should get 0, then we should get 0. But if we're entitled to $1.7 million, we're entitled to $1.7 million, and there are other companies that do the same. And how do you determine who's right and who's wrong? I have a hard time just giving away $1.5 million if I'm right, and on the other hand, I don't want any of their money if I'm wrong. I just find the concept of somehow always settling, always somehow giving people lots of money because we don't want to find out what's right. How are we going to know how to tax the next company that comes along? We'll go through the same thing again. Or will we just simply drop the tax and get nothing from the other companies? I mean, it's not a way to make policy. There should be, this sort of should be a right and a wrong here. I mean, it's either one way or it's another. If it's one way, they owe us $1.7 million. If it's their way, they don't owe us anything. So why are we settling on $400,000 and then argue the next time along? I have a very hard time accepting this unless I'm willing to hear more. I know this is complicated, hearing it off on first hand, but my gut is that there's something wrong here. It's just expedient.
Mr. Alatorre?
Mr. President and members, I think that in Budget and Finance there was a difference of opinion. Ms. Walters felt that we shouldn't accept the recommendation of the city attorney. But I think that when you spell out what the facts are, it is, we stand to lose more by taking a chance and not settling and at least getting some money versus possibly losing the whole thing. Fact of the matter is the facts are fairly clear. What basically happened is that at the time, Sun Financial, could possibly be looked upon as being in the business of insurance. They got out of that business, okay? So now it's not applicable. But this was a unique situation where it was determined by the city attorney that it was better that we accept the $400,000 and some or thereabouts, rather than take the chance of not only losing that $400,000, but if we do not prevail, then we would also have to pay the court costs. Is that correct, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes.
All right. And it was the judgment of the city attorney's office that this would be the direction to move in. And I have never known, a more conscientious city attorney than the one that made the recommendation to us. I think that he's always has been very above board, very objective, and we have to either, we don't always have to agree, but I think that in a situation like this, as it appears to me, that, we could say, well, this is a large corporation that'll be paying the full amount, but we're gambling. And to me, I'd rather have than gamble the entire amount, possibly losing, because they will go after, they will take the position, they owe none of the money. Plus, we also end up having to pay the court costs, which could be extremely significant. So it seems to me that this is a reasoned approach, a conservative approach to take, and I would respectfully ask for an aye vote, and I would move that we accept the settlement offer.
All right. Ms. Goldberg?
Watch out, Joel, I'm agreeing with you. But, I agree entirely. Either they owe us nothing or they owe us it all. I mean, I don't get this. I certainly don't understand how you can come up with $484,189.36. It just seems to me like this is the time when you litigate. When you aren't sure whether, we think we were right, they think we were wrong, let's go find out. We don't have to make a federal case out of this. It doesn't have to take 1,000 years. But it seems to me that either they owe us the tax, in which case they owe us all of it, or they don't owe us the tax, in which case they don't owe us this $484,000. I don't understand how it can be in between that, to be very honest with you. Maybe I'm missing something here, but Joel, as much as we disagree on many things, this is one time when you said something and it just rang true. I don't think we should settle this case. I think we should find out which is right and which is wrong, and if we're wrong, I don't see it as winning and losing. I see it as finding out whose interpretation of the regulations is accurate or not, and if we're wrong, we shouldn't collect any of this money. And if we're right, we should collect all of it.
Mr. Hernandez?
I just wanted to ask, Sun America never was chartered as an insurance company, were they?
This particular entity is not an insurance company, but it's related to a number of insurance
Well,
companies.
you use the word related, and the insurance code of the state of California basically defines what is an insurance company, and it prohibits the city from collecting taxes from the perspective of premiums earned. Now, brokers do business and charge a fee above and beyond the premium for purposes of their services. Now, I need to ask the city clerk, what is the revenue that we were taxing this entity for?
Was the reimbursed expenses that the subsidiary companies were paying the parent company for the services they were rendered?
So were they reimbursing them premium dollars? See, what I'm trying to ask, if it was part of the premium, then that's the basis of the tax. I mean, that we're not supposed to tax.
In this particular instance, the source of funds came from the insurance subsidiaries, but the parent was providing services to those companies of a non-insurance nature. And their argument is they should be held, if I understand the city attorney correctly, they should be considered as part of the insurance stream and avoid all the liability.
And who was collecting the revenue initially from the customer?
I believe the subsidiary.
I believe it flowed through the taxpayer, because the taxpayer employs all of the employees who work for the group of companies. So everything came through the taxpayer, then was funneled to the particular insurance company.
Okay.
Walters?
I just wanted to say that it is true, I voted no on this in committee, but I've been supplied the relevant information to this point, and I'm supporting the settlement at this point.
We have item number 10 before us, and with Mr. Alatorre's motion to prepare the roll. Prepare the roll.
Tabulate. Tabulate.
Tabulate the vote.
7 ayes, 4 noes.
It's going to be one of those days.
I voted no on this. Would you record me as a no vote? Where are you going? Okay. Okay, that failed, so the next item.
Item number 35, called special.
Huh? Okay. Item number. Item 35.
Yeah. Let me, Mr. President, members, I know what the city attorney is going to say, but I think that I would like to have a discussion on this issue and then make a determination once that discussion as to what the direction is, because there's a possibility that we can get this, resolved at least temporarily and allow the CRA to go about its business. But let me just explain the problem. The problem is that the CRA has not adopted a budget for the next fiscal year. That is leaving the issue of what happens to employees and whether they get compensated for the work that they do. That there are some employees that are saying that it is currently a dispute between the director and the commission, and the commission requesting certain things, and the director saying that it's something other than that. But because of the inability on the part of the commission to to adopt the budget, we not only have in limbo the employees and what happens to them come July 1st, but more importantly, there's fiduciary responsibilities of the commission that are impacted because there has been no adoption of the budget. So these are some real issues, and I think it impedes the ability of the director, and they have submitted their budget, but the commission has a dispute with it. Well, you know, they are no different in terms of their need to have a budget in operation than any other entity, the city, or any other entity. And that's what is at stake. And maybe this issue can be resolved by giving a period of time to get the issue resolved and to adopt. But I think these issues have got to be fleshed out for the sake of the agency, for the sake of its employees, for the sake of the fiduciary responsibilities that the agency is involved in.
Thank you. Before we continue the discussion, it is a public hearing item. We have David Cochran and Leonard Shapiro.
Thank you, Mr. President and council members. David Cochran from AFSCME Council 36, representing AFSCME Locals 164, 585, and 2204, the basic, professional, and supervisory bargaining units of the CRA. We have asked this issue to be raised on the floor of council. The employees, as Councilmember Alatorre says, are extremely concerned about the agency's, the intent of the agency board with regard to the employees. The opinion of the Office of the City Controller is that without a budget or a continuing budget resolution, before the end of the month, they cannot pay their employees. They are in technical default on their bonds, and they can't even buy a box of paper clips. There's a lot of redevelopment work that needs to be done in this city. The other concern that the employees have is that this is a method that the Office of the Mayor and the CRA board is using to try to get rid of employees without going through the right and formal processes. The employees are looking to this council for protection and to call on the CRA board and ask what are their intentions? What is the intention of this board with regard to their employees? Because we're not getting those, the only answers we're getting from the board is that they are in disagreement with their administrator. That's not good news for the employees. That's not good news for anybody. We would ask this council to demand of this administrator and of this board, what are your intentions with regard to your agency, with regard to your employees, with regard to the concept of redevelopment in the city of Los Angeles? Thank you.
Leonard Shapiro.
Mr. President and council members, the chickens have come home to roost. People know that the CRA was running in trouble. They know they owe $750 million on the downtown area alone. They would have run more, except Bernardi stopped them. They know that the CRA owes $2 billion. Now, if you take any kind of figures, $2 billion, and pay it off in 20 years or 40 years, you're talking about $50 million to $100 million. Now, when you're looking at $50 to $100 million in the face, where is the money going to come from? There's no more place for it to come from. So they say it's not there. Now, when I spoke to the CRA officials here, one of them tells me, yes, they're going to go in the hole. $8 million a year for the next 5 years. That's the number the Times printed. That's the number that everybody was talking about. $8 million in the hole. But when I spoke to the head of the CRA, the manager, he says we're only $1 million in the hole, and we can easily work that out. Well, you can't work things out. You just heard the man talking to you from the union. He's telling you, what are you going to do with the 200 employees who are working for the CRA? You're going to throw them out in the street, or you're going to take care of them? The main question is, what are you going to do about this situation? There is no such thing as allowing them to continue the same process they've been using in the past years.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro.
The city council must take it over.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. Okay, do we want to get a ruling from the city attorney, or do we want to? Okay, can we have a ruling from the city attorney on this item?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Gail Weingart, Assistant City Attorney. The council doesn't have authority to Prop 5 this item. However, the item will be coming to the council after an action is taken under the oversight ordinance, what the council may do today is they may discuss the item and continue it until Friday, until after the commission has acted.
That's possible.
Okay.
But we, point of information, Mr. President?
What is your point of information?
So what you are saying is that we could continue the discussion and then decide to continue the matter until Friday. Is that correct?
Yes, my understanding is the board is to meet on Thursday, and if they take an
Well,
action
it would
that
be
day.
nice, there are some members of the board and possibly the chairman, to get some indication from them what their intentions are between now and Friday.
Well, is it necessary to have this discussion today and then again on Friday?
No, I like to, but I like to at least
President.
get some indication from the chairman, and
all right,
that
all
would
right.
take 30 seconds.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. President, I'd like to be heard if
Well,
at all
then,
possible.
then you wait your turn. Mr. Holden is next.
Thank you so much.
Mr. President, members, I think we treading on thin ice, even by the legal opinion of the city attorney. The CRA is governed, the rules and regulations are primarily governed by state law, and I'm sure like we are required to adopt the budget, so are they. And if they begin to play political games with that process, we could very well find ourselves out of business, not only as an agency, but also if you try to merge it with the existing department within the city. There can generate, sure, with cause, for a lot of lawsuits based on the fact that a lot of projects have been started, and therefore there's some obligations to pay down those taxes, pay off those projects. I think that we better take heed of what we're trying to say here, CRA members, commissioners. You can't play politics anymore with this agency. Remember MTA, which was LACTC. They try to play politics, and what happens? They change the agency. Mr. Polanco is a senator. When he was an assemblyman, it was Mr. Polanco who said you can use monies from the agency to provide for affordable housing outside of the agencies. They amended their agency law for the first time to make that possible. We have benefited from those revisions of CRA law in Sacramento. Now, if you start playing around with this process, Mr. Polanco is still there. And I'm sure there are those of us who are here who would urge him to do something about it. Now, for the first time, and I can remember, the inner city established its own redevelopment areas and agency areas. And we're beginning to do something sometime outside of Bunker Hill, away from Central City, where we've been doing that for them over the years. And now we're trying to start some projects within our community to bring our community back economically, to establish an economic base. And when we start to get our share, you're saying enough is enough, it's no more left for you guys. Now, we're not going to accept that. That's not acceptable. Be assured of that. Those issues will be raised, that this is another tactic to deny those who live within the inner city an opportunity to establish their own agency, freeze the tax base, and infuse money in development projects in their respective communities. Then therefore, it's just for you and not for us. And therefore, I would say never again on that one either.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bernstein.
I support Mr. Alatorre. He's a legend in his own right, and we should listen to him.
Members of the council, the one critical issue here is one that nobody's mentioned, or maybe somebody has, but not the way they should, and that is the fact that employees need to be paid. And I'm just wondering, I'm not ready to vote to take over the CRA, take jurisdiction. I think it would be illegal to start with, number one. But it is important that we convey the message that somehow, even if it's by some sort of a continuing resolution as far as the salaries are concerned, till that part is resolved. And I would hope that the board will take care of that on Thursday, until there is a resolution so that the employees can at least be paid. There are a number of things, I think Mr. Shapiro said it, the chickens have come home to roost, and they have to a degree because the administrative costs have been exorbitant in many of the CRA projects in past history. We put caps on the last 2 or 3 that have been, in fact, I think I made the motion to put the administrative cap on the last couple that went through. And that's fine, because the process is a good process if it's used right. Now, we need to make sure that in the future, that the process is used right, and it's not just used, the increment money isn't just to create a ongoing payroll. It has to accomplish the goals for which CRA is intended to accomplish, and that's to do away with blight and to rebuild portions of the city that are suffering from economic depravity. So I would urge the commission on Thursday to at least, till they can resolve some of the other issues, to find a way so the employees can be paid. That's important. Their families depend upon it.
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, the matter is rather simple and straightforward. It is not to talk about taking over the CRA. It's essentially to say that many of us here have important projects that we wish to see continued and supported. The extent to which there is not a budget on which employees and or projects can rely, it suggests that those projects are potentially at risk. There has been no compelling rationale offered for why the budget hasn't been approved by the CRA board. We wish to raise the issue and say it is an important consideration, to say the very least, that we move forward with the adoption of a budget so that the projects that are important to the life of communities throughout this city can rely on those projects going forward. There are employee issues that are rather obvious, and there are issues of community revitalization and redevelopment that are important. And Mr. President, I don't know that we have heard why the budget hasn't been adopted. I would like some explanation as to why that is the case, by whomever it is that can provide it. If it's the board chairperson, let her come forward and say why the budget hasn't been adopted. If it's those who are involved in the bargaining unit, let them come forward. If it's those who are involved in agency administration, let them come forward. But I would think, since we do have a vested interest, we are at least due some explanation as to why we can't get this piece of business done. I don't know that it should be seen as a simple ministerial problem. It is a significant problem. There are in excess of 20 project areas in this city. And some of us have come to believe that our tenure on this council is in part related to the success that we can bring to bear with respect to revitalization. And the employees ought to be able to rely with some degree of confidence as to when they will know that their checks will be delivered to them pursuant to the work that they are required to do. So I think at minimum we ought to have a response from the agency board, and I will request that at this time, Mr. President.
Chair of the board here. The director, but can we find out why the budget was not adopted? Come on.
Well, now, there's...
Mr. President, members of the council.
Mr. Malloy, just a moment. You work at the request of the agency board? It is the board that has the opportunity and the responsibility to make the determination. Is it the case that you submitted the budget? Is that the process?
I have done that, yes.
And it's before the board? And the board hasn't acted. Is that not the case, ma'am?
The board at this time has asked for additional information to be given to the commission to give us an opportunity to carry out our fiscal responsibility in the area of policymaking for the agency, yes.
Now, it might be useful to...
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Well, I'll speak again. I'd like to ask another question.
Mr. Hernandez is next.
What the hell does that mean? My question was really, what does that mean?
So my understanding is this Thursday, the board will be reviewing again the budget, is that correct?
No, we are going to, at this point in time, review an extension a resolution to extend to make sure that all salaries on all projects continue to go forward for the next 60 days while we evaluate some of the issues that our administrator is bringing forward and back to us in the area of organizational structure.
Okay. Now, and is that what the city attorney is saying we'll be able to review on Friday? Is that extension scheduled to come before us on Friday? That resolution?
We're going to continue this until Friday.
So that can happen? Okay, because then we can take action on that item. One of the things that's very confusing to me, and again, I have not spoken to the director of CRA, Mr. Malloy. He has never spoken to me about this issue. I have spoken to the collective bargaining units who represent the employees and have expressed concern. I've spoken to board members beyond just the chairman. And there's a lot of disarray going on right now and disagreement. Apparently it's not a unanimous board that is agreeing in the actions that are going on right now. Now, the reason I bring these facts out, and I think it's important they be placed on the table, is this is happening during a process in which the city is talking about consolidation of economic development functions. And when I talk about the city, I'm talking about the airport, I'm talking about the harbor, I'm talking about the BIDs, I'm talking about a whole area of tools that have been growing and basically are expanding. The one tool that has been restricted because of court action and because of now what I believe is some board action is the CRA. And its role is diminishing in the city of Los Angeles. And I'm not so sure, and I disagree with Mr. Burnson, because legally it is this council that gives the authority for a board to run CRA. We can be that board. And that answer has already come before us. Now, I'm sharing that with you because I'm concerned about one of the economic development tools of the city of Los Angeles. That's called the CRA, and its role it plays in economic development as a city. But at the same time, it is not the foremost tool we have in this city. And I'm concerned about the actions that this board is taking about this tool. I'm putting it on the table right now because we cannot be responsible for economic development of a city if we cannot use the tool. And if the tool is basically dysfunctional because it's broken, because it doesn't have staff, that's going to create some major problems. I'm putting it all on the table because I think it's important we understand where we're headed. And the actions that are going on right now are impacting this whole decision-making process of trying to consolidate economic development as a city. And I've seen you on both sides, and it's kind of like, I don't understand this direction when at one point you were trying to preserve the agency.
Mrs. Chick.
My two colleagues who just spoke pretty much covered the points that I'm interested in, and I do look forward to a more open exchange of information. I want to thank Mr. Alatorre for bringing this before us. All of us have a great deal at stake in the CRA. And I am very proud and pleased that I brought the CRA to a part of the city that had never experienced working with the agency before, and quite frankly, had always regarded it as a part of the city that had nothing to offer the citizens of the West Valley. That has not been the case in the last 5+ years. I want to see the work of the agency and its staff in my district and citywide continue to benefit all of our neighborhoods. I am exceedingly concerned about where we are at present, confused by a fuller lack of a fuller discussion, and we need to have very clear facts brought before us. I think there are differing points of view about the best way to proceed, but that is also something that the council has to be involved with. I'm very respectful of the commission's hard work and caring as well for the agency, but I look forward to the fuller discussion then on Friday. Thank you.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, I am happy to hear that there's going to be a continuing budget resolution so that we can make sure our employees are not worried about whether they're going to get paid after July the 1st. And I do know that we have an MOU that says that no matter what the budget says, that people have a right in these bargaining units to 120 days' notice and meet and confer if there should be any layoffs. So, and you're shaking your head, but for the record, you're aware of all of those provisions.
Absolutely, I am.
And the board intends to make sure that any of, and all of those provisions are cared for.
That is absolutely our intent.
Because I know this council will make sure otherwise. But I do want to say to you that I am not unhappy that there is a very thorough review of the budget going on. We have had, you know, a major involvement with CRA in my district since long before I took office, and we care very much what happens to the agency. But there are times when we look at funding for staff, as Mr. Bernson talked about, the times it seems like there's no activity on some item on our budget, and yet there's still staff charged against it, and things like that. We have to get to the bottom of how this accounting is done. We have tried very hard to figure out what's going on in the budget that we get presented to our office regarding the Hollywood CRA. So if that's your interest, is to make sure that you know how the accounting is done, where the money is going, and how it's going, I think that's an appropriate thing to do. And we should wait and see what they come up with before we decide whether we want to Prop 5 it. Certainly, the employees have every right to know that they're going to be paid. And if that doesn't happen, I can assure you that this council is going to make sure that it does. And certainly, you have a right to believe that your MOUs will be fully and completely enforced. And I assure you that this council will make sure that that happens as well. The rest of the issues, I think, are very important, though, is to know what the footing, financial footing of this agency is, and what the numbers are, and what they represent, not just for today and tomorrow, but for the future of this agency. So that's, those are my views. I do also look forward, as do the rest of my colleagues, to hearing more specifics about this, since I'm doing this on a theoretical basis.
All right, Mr. Alatorre.
Mr. President, because after today, we're going to lack jurisdiction, I will like to make a substitute motion that we continue this matter to Friday, that for the purposes of reviewing the action of the board of, or by the commission of the CRA on the budget. Is that correct? And this will allow us to maintain the subject matter until Friday. If we don't move this action today, then we lose jurisdiction. So I would move the substitute motion and ask for a second on that.
Okay, Mr. Holden.
I stand corrected. His name was Joe Montoya, not Polanco, but Polanco is just committed to the affordable housing as he was and we were. So I want to say to the President of the Commission that it gives a perception that someone is exercising due power. Whenever an effort has been made to deny people their paycheck, or just by the inaction, they will be denied their paycheck, then that's against every law, state and federal. And we understand that you are an agency of the city, even though your guidelines are state. We cannot sit back and allow that to happen. All the lawsuits would just come out of the woodwork. The perception, again, is that it's a power play and could be designed to cause some employees to leave or whatever the case may be. But if they're not there with the experience that's required in order to help us now in the inner city with our projects, then we have a major problem with that. I think every effort should be made to stay on track, to provide the same opportunity for the inner city developers as we had in other areas of the city. Because if that's not done, that will be the perception. And if that's the perception, it'll be viewed as a double standard. And we don't think that that's perhaps necessarily the case. And so we're going to support your efforts on Thursday to do what is right, to give those employees a budget so they can stay on their job and certainly on our job and on our projects. If it's a policy change, that's not the way to go. Let us know about it. And hopefully, together we can work it out, I'm sure. So I would say that I encourage you to go forward, and I know you do the right thing on Thursday, and on Friday we're all going to smile together.
Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, I want to say to the chairman, chairperson of the board, it was not exactly clear to me what your response was to my initial question. But I wish to say the following. It would seem to me that it's fully possible to have made the decisions that needed to be made in compliance with a June 30th deadline to have a budget that's ready to go for July 1. And I think it should be said that the commission bears responsibility as the entity that is indeed responsible for moving a budget forward. No one would say for a moment that due diligence shouldn't be exercised. But I would hasten to suggest that in the process of balancing the budget and making determinations that are characterized as policy decisions, that preferential considerations often enter into that. So what remains and what is lost? Who gets consideration, who doesn't get consideration? What kind of judgments, political or otherwise, are then made in this discussion that's being characterized as policy making into which the board must enter? My concern is that there's more than what meets the eye. And I'm concerned to ask you rather directly, what are the major policy considerations that the board is yet considering that would cause us to have to go into a essentially 60-day waiting period before something is finally resolved? Maybe you could give us some sense of those things.
It is not a waiting period. It's a time for exploration to be able to bring a number of things that are on our agenda forward. The classification and compensation study is one. The feasibility study on the compatibility of like departments within the city that we have within the agency, all those elements that bring fiscal responsibility to the board as a whole, so that when the budget moves forward to the council, you will have the opportunity to make decisions in those areas.
And the reason that this hadn't been done up to this point?
I believe that all of that has come together now, and we are going to be having that. I believe that our administrator has said to me that some of that will be available within the next, all of that, or most of that will be available within the next 60 days.
And these are the things that you are referring to as policy considerations?
It's fiscal management, yes.
And in connection with that, are we to anticipate any of the projects that are currently on the boards, as it were, being eliminated? Are we to anticipate those kind of considerations? If you look at CD1 through CD15, are there any projects that we might see defunded or anything of that sort?
Everything that has been approved by council will move forward.
No, that's not the question. The question is, we don't have a budget, so it hasn't been approved by council. And I'm trying to get a clear answer from you, Madam Chair, as to whether or not what we might anticipate is the defunding of certain projects.
I don't see that as being a case.
So the question of a budget doesn't have anything to do with the reduction of employees, doesn't have anything to do with defunding projects, but we can't arrive at fiscal management or responsibility issues in a fashion that conforms with the June 30th deadline so that we can go.
Possibly we're speaking in different areas. Part of what we are
I'm speaking
looking at.
about what's entailed in
We are
moving a
looking at
budget.
administrative
Would you let me
costs.
finish my
I'm sorry.
question? That's okay.
Please.
I'm asking a question so that we're not speaking across each other, but I'm essentially asking what elements are not currently before the board that prevents it from making a decision related to moving the budget forward? And you're saying policy issues, fiscal management issues, do those things reduce themselves to workforce reduction issues or defunding of projects? And if they don't, I don't quite understand then what the budgetary implications are separate from policy considerations.
Let me see if I can clearly answer that for
Please,
you, and I
thank you.
apologize, I thought that I had. Part of a budget is the administrative costs of running an agency. Impacting those administrative costs are the availability of looking at economies of scale so that the agency can balance its budget and its administrative responsibilities with that in mind.
Does administrative
Those
responsi-
items are what we are looking at now.
Do
and
those
what our
have
administrator is helping
implications?
focus on.
Do those have implications for workforce reduction? Or do those have implications for defunding of projects?
They allow opportunity for change, which will make the agency more fiscally responsible. That's the best way I know how to answer your
Well,
question.
let me ask you again so that you can answer it directly. Do those have implications for workforce reduction and/or defunding of projects? Perhaps you can answer that on Friday when we have this conversation
Okay,
again.
your time is really up. Mr. Fuhr?
What was the previous question?
Okay, is there any objections to the previous question? Seeing none, so that Mr. Alatorre made a motion that to continue this item until Friday. Is that the correct motion, City Attorney?
Yeah, he's basically amending this to consider the commission's action of Thursday on Friday in council.
Okay, is there any objection to that? Seeing none, that will be the order. And we also will continue item number 10 until Friday. If there's no objections? No. Number 10 we already acted. No, 10 was, there was, it didn't pass.
That was a city.
Continue until Friday. The next item?
Item number 30 called special.
34, wasn't it the one I wanted?
We're still waiting for 30 answers.
Mr. President, I'd like to take up item 34. It's the next item.
The next item is item number 30 on the agenda.
Oh, 30.
Mr. Burnson called 36 special. He says he's satisfied with it, so maybe we could just do it.
36?
Yeah.
Huh? 36?
30 is very important. It needs to go forthwith from here.
So does
So I
item
hope it
34.
And item
35.
34, I have an amendment for.
35. 34.
Okay, let's take item 30 first. We have Leonard Shapiro wants to be heard on it.
Mr. President, thanks for taking up item 30 first. Got the whole department is waiting here in the back of the room. What's happening in here is the traffic management department, the South Park area, on the transportation improvement project, has been spending $2.9 million fixing up the area, $2.3 million in regional Proposition C funds and $588 from the city. Now they say they've come to the conclusion that they have to spend a few bucks more, $425,000, and that's what's being asked for. This has got to do with the arena. The parking in the arena has to be made a little easier so that people shouldn't be wandering around making the gridlock situation a little bit more gridlock. Well, the point is, I didn't quite understand this until I spoke to the Department of Transportation. And they explained it to me very easily, because they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And they showed me this picture. And what it boils down to is, why should we have ordinary signs on the freeway? Why should they, you know how they look so bad? They don't look nice at all. We'll have nice signs down there. Here we have a nice blue pole and a nice special sign. So if people are riding on the freeway and on Figueroa Avenue, they can make the determination, here's the way you go to arena parking, and they won't be fooling around too much. My point is this. Joel Wax did a heck of a good job making the arena crowd pay their fair share, a little fair share of what's happening. Now you're saying, well, you don't like the signs, we're making new signs. Well, I say let the arena bunch, let them pay part of this too.
Thank you.
There's no reason why the city council should spend $425,000 more on these parking signs, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
Okay, public hearing. Mrs. Walters, you have the floor.
I'd like to move this and ask that it go forthwith, please.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, Mr. President, members of council, I'm sorry, I missed Ms. Walters. Are you supporting this motion?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason I'm asking the question is what happens there will pretty much also happen in the Pico Union area because it's part of the access points to the Staples Arena. And one of the concerns we had when we were looking at signage was the tree growth that we've been able to develop on Pico Boulevard. And the reality that we're going to have to deal with some mitigation in that regard so that the signs are more clearly visible or they're not bigger. And so, again, I just, one, I'm urging support. I think that the access to the arena and access points is something we have to facilitate as much as possible, keeping in mind the residential needs and commercial corridor needs of those particular areas.
Mr. Holden.
Mr. President, members, this proposal will primarily benefit the Staples Center. Is that a yes or no answer? Could I get? And the
I think it benefits you, Nate.
changeable message signs and stuff like that, will it benefit the Staples Center? Anybody want to tell us that? Hold my time, Mr. President.
No, you
Please.
don't have any time.
Yes, I do. I'm at 2:35. Hold my time. Freeze my time.
This will assist, transportation is here, but this assists people in
Mr. President, you have a
making their
little
way
button over there where you can hold my time?
making their way around the convention center in the Staples area with signs to let them know where to go. It's to the benefit of the
Is
center.
the
but
staff
it's
coming
also-
up? I mean, please.
John Fisher with the Transportation Department. These signs were designed originally for the Staples Center, but as we looked at them, we decided that they would have some overall benefit to the downtown area in general, and we've designed them so that they'll not only inform motorists of conditions at the convention center, for Staples Center, but also of other downtown events that may be happening.
Would that help the people of the 10th District too?
I don't think so.
We're trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
Now, you're saying that it would give people notification about congestion? I mean, what is these kind of a synchronized?
For the Staples Arena, the signs will inform motorists of the changing parking conditions about parking availability. But if we have other events like Fest or Broadway or other things that occur downtown, we will notify people of those events as well.
And the city is paying for this, and MTA is using some of their monies. Where's the money coming from? Although it's written-
There's an agreement between the city and Staples and the MTA as to where the funding's going to come from, and each of the shares is spelled out in that agreement.
I'm trying to see it quickly, but I can't, so you tell me. How much do we pay, how much does the city pay, how much the county MTA pay, and how much the Staples Center will be paying?
For the overall agreement that we have with for this effort, the MTA is paying $2.3 million roughly, and the city is paying $408,000, and Staples is paying $179,000. The motion before us would add another $430,000 to pay for these signs that would blend in better with the community.
Okay, so maybe in the next month or so, we'll see how much taxpayers' money has been allocated for this project. I'll vote for it because it's already in place. But I got to tell you that I know Joel's name was mentioned, that he saved the city a lot of money by getting money from the Staples Center. What he did with CRA is gave him $12 million with interest to be paid in the year 2002. Failing to pay that, the interest would be compounded. And I don't say how the heck that's a better deal at all. Not a better deal. The first deal was better. You just don't know what you voted for.
We have 30 before us. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith on that. Item 36, my understanding, Mr. Burnson called it special, and he's satisfied. Is there any, did you want to be heard on 36? No, 34. Yeah, well, 36, so prepare the roll on 36. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith on that. Next item would be 34.
Yes, Mr. President, members, I don't,
The public hearing has been held. We do have a couple people want to be heard.
yeah,
but,
can we limit it to a 5-minute public hearing? We don't need it.
Judah Schwartz and Jerry Jeffy. Be very brief.
Councilmember Ferraro and fellow council members. I'm Judy Swartz, Director of Legislative Affairs for the Central City Association. We ask that you support this item as it comes forward today. CCA believes that the reform proposal is the first step in providing tax simplification and relief for businesses in our city. And we've worked very hard for the implementation of this proposal. We especially ask that you move forward with tax revisions to the composition of the Business Tax Advisory Group and get this group up and running as soon as possible. Unfortunately, the Chamber of Commerce had to leave, and they very much agree with what we're saying. Thank you.
All right. Did Jerry Jeffy leave? He didn't have the staying power you had, huh?
Exactly.
Okay. The public hearing. All right, Mrs. Walters wants to be heard. She's got an amendment.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. On supplemental page 3, item 5, on the second line of item 5, near the end, where it says, in 30 days with the status of the mechanics, I want to insert between status and of the following words, and fiscal impact, so that it would then read, instruct the city clerk, CAO, and CLA to report to the ad hoc committee on tax reform in 30 days with the status and fiscal impact of the
Right.
mechanics for implementing a new tax
I
system.
have no problem with the amending language.
All right, Mr. Alatorre seconds.
Open the
Ms.
roll.
Goldberg?
Yes, because I'm just not sure exactly what we're voting on. I've read it, but I want to make sure that I understand it. Because this says, Nicole Halelos, because they said 9.3 million
All right, can we have Mr. Deaton? Maybe
is
Mr.
the
Deaton
fiscal
can-
year impact.
All right.
So are we voting on, well, what are we voting on
Yeah,
today?
according to what Mr. Deaton-
That's all I really want to ask.
Basically, you're directing the city attorney to draft the ordinance. And if the ordinance was ultimately passed by the council, that would be the fiscal impact. So what you are asking for is, in addition to those things that we're working on today, that these things be added to that. And then the whole package will come back to you and in some form, in two capacities. One is it'll go to committee first, and we'll work out all the wrinkles, et cetera, in that, and then proceed to council at some point.
Very good.
So the ordinance we're asking to draw out changes the date of when people can file, and does this relief for startup businesses.
Right.
Doesn't go further than that at this time.
No, you have, the council, in its last time that it considered the entire matter, talked about a plan, hybrid plan of some sort.
Yes.
And we're working on trying to put those together.
But we're
That
not
would-
voting on that. That's
You're not voting on that.
That's all I wanted to know.
All these are additions to that prior action.
Ask for an aye vote, Mr. Ferraro.
We'll ask for an aye vote as amended. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Now is time for public comments on non-agenda items.
Leonard Shapiro.
Mr. President, it's been a long day. I know you all want to go out and grab something, a bite to eat, and I'll be fairly brief. Please leave me 3 minutes at least. The first thing I want to bring to everybody's attention is we're all aware of all the news articles that were paraded around through the LA Times and the other press about Rupert Murdoch giving $200,000 to the Coalition for Kids. And they had that till hell wouldn't have it, that it's a bad thing and it shouldn't happen. But somehow or other, I hold in my hand a note for $250,000 that was given by the Reardon Blind Trust, Richard J. Reardon, the principal sum $250,000 payable January 15th, year 2000. Now, the point is, if we're going to be consistent, and we're going to say Rupert Murdoch's $200,000 was a bad deal on the charter campaign, and what about this campaign? What is a blind trust? A blind trust is set up by a person who's in office to make sure that he doesn't get presented with any conflict of interest positions. Now, what is a more big conflict of interest position than to donate money to a controversial campaign, which the city council was saying vote no on, and the mayor was saying vote yes, and he had to support of 3 council people. But the point is, if he gave $250,000 loan to make sure that they had enough money to blot out the $100,000 that John Ferraro gave, well, at least do it legally. He didn't have to do it through the blind trust, but he did it through the blind trust. The Ethics Commission has this. The Ethics Commission is sitting on it. The Ethics Commission is afraid to do anything on it. I think the city council should do something about it. Is a blind trust, is a blind trust, is a blind trust. Either it is or it isn't. My point is this also, one further point. I'd like to point out to the members of the council that Measures 3 and Measures 4 drew a heck of a lot more votes than Measures 1 on the charter. The people wanted to make sure that the charter was not expanded. If not for more responsive government, what do they have then there? And that is one good point to remember. And there's another good point to remember. The 8th, 9th, and the 10th districts were the only districts outside of Rudy Savornich's that voted against the charter. Now, what did the 8th, 9th, and 10th districts have in common besides the fact that you got Holden, Waters, and Ridley Thomas on it? They had in common that you had the L.A. Watts Times being distributed in those areas, and that one writer, namely myself, was raising the roof to make sure people voted against the charter, and they voted against the charter in all 3 districts.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro.
I want you to understand the value that some people have in this city.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And we have Brian Bowers who wants to be heard.
Good afternoon, President and council members. I first want to begin by introducing myself. My name is Brian Bowens, and let me give you a brief history of what type of Los Angelino I am and what brings me here before you today. I moved here from the East Coast about 16 years ago. I started my career at an elementary school and then went to John Burroughs Junior High in one of your districts. That's where I met David and Susan Goldberg, the nephew and niece of Representative Goldberg. I then matriculated on to the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, where I became a very active student. I then matriculated on to Howard University, and before that, in my tenured time at the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, I only need about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes of your time, and I really regret that not even my councilman is even in session right now, but let me get to the point of my complaint and my plight. I have been very active civically throughout the city of Los Angeles. I'm a health educator. I started as a peer advocate with the Los Angeles Free Clinic and the Triad at Children's Hospital. I worked directly with someone that also Councilwoman Goldberg knows. Susan Rabinowitz was my direct supervisor. I have volunteered from every community program and in practically every district minus the Valley in Los Angeles, from Kedron Community Center in Watts all the way to where I currently volunteer at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. But like I said, after being extremely active in Los Angeles, I find myself in some financial troubles after I graduated from Howard University in Washington, D.C., and find myself currently as a temporary worker for the city of Los Angeles. This is in direct, the problem that the situation I find myself in now is in direct opposition to the living wage ordinance that the city in its all wisdom has passed about 2 years ago. I have worked consistently and outside of the bounds of my compensation and outside of the bounds of my job responsibilities for the Department of Accounting, Division of Systems Management and Auditing for, like I said, for the last 2 years and 2 months. Unfortunately, I was led astray and made to believe and lied to particularly and practically by members of the city employment, people that are in the city employment. They made it seem that my hard work would pay off with their assistance in helping me obtain a city job that I find was absolutely a lie. Like I said, I continually and consistently worked above and above not only my compensation rate, but also the work expected of me of my temporary agency. And now I find myself, for a year and basically about 5 months, into 2 years and 2 months I've been here temping for the city, I hadn't been compensated a fair rate. I lodged a complaint with the CAO through the living wage ordinance that the council in its wisdom had passed years ago. Unfortunately, they said that the contract that I had entered with the temp agency and the city didn't afford me the right to have an adequate working wage that the council had set. The dollar amount that I have been bilked out of what I feel, and I don't know what my recourse would be. Like I said, I filed a complaint. They said that through some technical whatever, that this particular case, my particular situation, didn't fall under the living wage ordinance.
Okay.
But the discrepancy...
I've given you plenty of time, and you've repeated yourself time and time again, so would you please
Well,
conclude?
when I come here, I ask the city council is for what is my recourse as a citizen, as a taxpayer here in the city of LA. I feel that I've been honestly bilked and I've honestly been squeezed for my labor and my wages, and I haven't been compensated. You, in your wisdom, set up an ordinance to prevent such things like this, to have contracts to be fair and equitable for employees that do work. And like I said, I lodged a complaint, but
Right.
at this point, I no longer
Sir,
know.
Okay, thank you.
Talk to Ms. Goldberg, and she's right there. I think that she can give you the information you need.
Thank you, sir.
She's the author.
Okay, the public comment period is closed. What it was.
Now it's time for requests to be excused from council attendance. We have Councilmember Glanter request to be excused on Tuesday, I think it's July 20th, for city business.
Unanimous vote.
Councilmember Ridley Thomas request to be excused on Wednesday, June 16th, for city business. Requires a motion.
Anybody going to make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Baralatori moves, unanimous vote.
Nate will move it, right.
Ms. Walters requests to be excused on October 1st and 5th, meets policy for city business.
Unanimous vote.
And Councilmember Walters requests to be excused on September 14th, 15th, and 17th for city business. This meets policy.
Unanimous vote.
The desk is clear.
Okay, we have adjourning motions. Would everyone please stand? The council's going to adjourn.
John, I have an announcement.
Mr.
The
Burnson,
Planning
for
Land Use
announcement.
Management Committee will meet in 10 minutes.
Okay.
You need more?
The IGR will meet at 2:15.
2:15.
Budget finance will meet promptly at 2 o'clock.
Okay. Ms. Goldberg?
On behalf of all the Trekkies of the world, to ask that we close council today in memory of DeForest Kelley, who was Leonard McCoy Bones on the original Star Trek series. He also was in many films, Gunfight at the OK Corral, Raintree County with Elizabeth Taylor. Appeared many times as guest star on Bonanza and Gunsmoke. And I think that he was probably best known, however, for his Star Trek role. He was a good friend of A.C. Lyles, whom a lot of you know over at Paramount, and I understand was quite a guy. I never had the opportunity to meet him, but I certainly appreciated his work, and I think we should note his passing.
That's right.
Mr. Holden?
Mr. President, members, we sadly announced the passing of Mr. Herman L. Burton, who passed away June 9th. He was a former employee of the City of Los Angeles General Services Transportation Department, auto parts storekeeper for 17 years, survived by his wife, Iola Burton, daughters Connie Scott Pullingham and Laurie J. Burton Oden. So we're going to miss him for sure.
Call the roll.
Aye.
Aye, the council is adjourned.